Chris and Cash radio program. We're gonna get into. We got a lot to talk about. Actually, we're gonna have a recap of the Colts game on Sunday, the much anticipated Colts game, which I was dead wrong about. We'll get into that.
Scotty was dead wrong.
I was dead wrong. I always admit when I'm wrong. We're going to have a preview for the Pats and Jets on Sunday. Tomorrow, yours truly will be there. Can't wait. I think it's going to be the best game of the week, maybe the best game of the season. First place in the AFC East on the line with the Jets. When's the last time we said that? 2010? Something like that. We're also going to get into a little NBA. We'll talk some Celtics. Kick around some predictions for the NBA. We're also going to get into a list. O'Keefe and I, 3 years ago, we did a snake draft for all-time NBA greats. We never got around really to picking the years for each player to put it into a simulator. We should do that at some point.
Yeah, we should do that, and then we'll tell you guys all about who wins the series, because I know I'm going to win.
I have William Felton Russell, so obviously I am going to win.
He is Bill Russell, so I guess he's going to win in Game 7, according to what history shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll go over that. We'll do some little bit of World Series talk.
Going to be talking about how if you're a big market team and you have the money, just stay away from David Price. If you want to win a championship, just do yourself a favor. We're going to get into that.
But invest in David Murphy.
Yeah. How much money has that guy made?
This month, past week or so?
Six straight postseason games with a homer. That's a record. Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Lou Gehrig, those guys, nobody's done it. Reggie Jackson, none of those guys have done it. Daniel Murphy's done it.
I'm not paying him if I'm a GM. I'm not paying him because he's out of my price range already just by doing that. His 14 regular season home runs, that's the most he's ever had in his career. Suddenly he's hit 6 in a row in the postseason, 6 straight games. He's going to get paid way more money than he needs to get.
Do you know who will give him the money? The Cubs.
Oh, yeah, because he just beat them. And we'll talk about the Bruins a little bit. They're struggling. We'll talk about Tuukka Rask being a bum.
Might be a little
I don't want to
harsh.
say goalie controversy because I don't think there should be a goalie controversy, but everyone else everywhere is talking about it, so we'll hit on that as well.
Yeah, they played a little bit better since the return of Chara. We'll get into that a little bit. But let's start off with a recap of Sunday.
The infamous Colts game.
The infamous Colts game, the Deflategate revenge game, quote unquote. Full disclosure, I told Chris here and a couple of other people, I actually lost a bet on it. We make wing wagers, basically. Like, O'Keefe still actually owes me 10 wings from a Rondo bet that we made earlier this year after his trade to Dallas. But
Last year.
I bet your cousin Tyler.
Yeah.
10 wings, because, 60 points doesn't happen often. It happens.
I looked it up. I want to say it was like 40-something times in the history of the league. But.
Yeah, it doesn't happen too often. But given the fact that the last few meetings have broken 40 without breaking a sweat, I said, 60 is a realistic possibility. Now, if I were smart, I should have made like a buffer zone. Like, okay, Tyler, if it's between 50 and 60, nobody wins or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. But Scotty thought Patriots were going to drop 60 on the Colts.
And I was wrong.
And they were going to win by 20-plus points. And not even just 20-plus. Like, I said the over-under should be 24 for how many points the Patriots would win by. And Scotty thought that was still low. Granted, I understand why. I get it.
I thought that they were going to absolutely bury them. I really did. I was absolutely stunned that it was as close as it was.
I did and I didn't. I mean, I said, and this was my bold prediction of the week.
You did say that.
It was going to be within 18 points. And the reason was that I thought the Colts were going to go kitchen sink. And that's what they did. They threw everything at them that they possibly could. Because the Colts are consistently losing to the Patriots. They brought Andrew Luck back. I don't know how injured he has or has not been.
Looked pretty good. In the first half,
their defense was nuts. Their stadium was nuts. I mean, they wanted to beat the Patriots. I don't blame them. That was an emotion game for them. So, I mean, Chuck Pagano did everything he possibly could. I mean, onside kick. Actually, to be fair, the Colts probably recovered that.
They got screwed, yeah.
I thought. Well, screwed is a harsh term for me there because they blew the whistle before the guy actually recovered it. And once you do that, and you pick a possession, you can't go back and review that. Everything should be reviewable. Which needs to
be changed, by the way.
Everything should be. And Belichick is the biggest proponent of everything should be reviewable, and it makes sense. I've always agreed with him on that. but that's not something you can really review. And once you blow the whistle, the play's dead. So if the guy gets it after the whistle's blown, it's kind of a moot point.
Just a basic. I don't know who didn't watch it. If you listen to the show, I'm sure you watched it. Colts get the ball first. They go right down and score. Good drive for Indy. Andrew Luck looked pretty good. And I said to myself, "Oh, Colts came to play today." And the funny thing was, you remember when Indy went for it on 4th down? I said to myself, "I like that. Pagano showing a little balls today."
Italian showing balls.
No, he's all full. He was all full of piss and vinegar. I like that.
And you know what though?
And that's going to come back and bite him in the ass later in the game.
Well, no, going for it on 4th down was a big thing, and I would have done the same thing.
What do you have to lose at that point?
Yeah, what's he going to do? Kick a field goal, get 3? You probably have a better chance of getting 7, which is, again, more than 2 times 3. That's how you win in the NFL. Yards mean nothing nowadays. Stats mean nothing. Time of possession means nothing. The only thing that matters is points. And more than anything, it's just scoring touchdowns.
You're not going to beat the Patriots kicking field goals.
You should go for it on 4th down almost every time and go for 2-point conversions almost every time, which is kind of what Tomlin's doing. Not that I still think he's a good coach. I don't. Mr. Epps is still a bad coach. But I agree with him going for 2 a lot more than a lot of other coaches around the league. But because Pagano was so, let's say, driven to do everything he could to beat the Patriots.
Saucy. I like
that. He went for a very odd play.
I don't even know. All right, and I'm sure you had. I purposely wasn't checking my phone because I knew you guys were going to. I came back to my phone to like 300 text messages.
Yeah, we have a text message group, and just so you know, every time the Patriots defense lets up a touchdown, they're the biggest bums in the world.
85 years.
The people in my text chain don't apparently understand that in the NFL nowadays, every single team lets up a bunch of points. Even the good defenses and the great defenses let up 20-plus points routinely. It's the way it is. It's almost Arena League football. But every time the Patriots let up a touchdown, especially on a first drive, which they tend to do a lot, actually, they start games really bad this year, it seems. Everyone in my chain and everyone that I know always, the Patriots defense is the worst defense ever. I'm like, it's not that bad, guys. So every time they make a stop, they're the 85 Bears.
In 11, it was that bad.
Yeah, well,
worst defense to ever go to a Super Bowl, hands down.
It was up there. It was horrendous.
Like
that Giants defense was pretty bad.
The one we lost to.
Yeah.
That 94 San Diego team sucked. They didn't belong in the same field with the Niners. That's the one.
I was surprised the 94 San Diego team made the playoffs.
Yeah.
I digress. We're going to talk about the worst play in NFL history.
Butt fumble. Well, here's the thing.
That was worse than the butt. But the butt fumble isn't a play. I mean, the butt fumble.
The butt fumble was a physical error. This was a mental.
The butt fumble wasn't a designed play for Mark Sanchez to run into someone's butt and fumble the ball. I mean, if that was the designed play call, then yeah, that's the worst play in NFL history. But considering this was actually a designed play, and Pagano didn't practice it because he didn't have the right personnel in there, and they weren't lined up on the line because you have to have X amount of men on the line.
Right, they were 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
And their excuse for that was, well, when the first guy lined up, the rest of them just lined up next to him. Well, that's not how you line up in football, but that's again ridiculous. It perplexes me because it was supposed to be a version of the swinging gate, and I don't know what they were exactly trying to do. But if they're going to try to run with the guy behind center, the guy only snaps the ball. First of all, if the numbers are in his favor, and there was 3 Patriots and a 4th Patriot right around the vicinity, and 2 Patriots right above the center. He should have never snapped that ball. Pagano should have called the timeout. They didn't. That was one of the worst examples of coaching you're going to see this year.
So here was my thought process. All right, it was 3rd and 3. I think Luck overthrew Moncrief, right? 3rd down, I think. All right, regardless. So it's 4th down and 3. I think they're at the 37-yard line. They go into that formation. Now, first thing in my mind that I'm thinking, okay, there's no way he's snapping the ball. He's just trying to draw them off. He's going to take it all the way down. He's going to try to draw them off. If he can't draw them off, he'll just take the delay game. They brush him back 5 yards, and they punt it away. McAfee was kicking missiles the entire first half when they were punting. When he snapped the ball, I was speechless.
Well, it took me about 2 seconds to realize, like it did all the Patriot players, like, what the hell's going on here? Then I said, this is going to be some type of swinging gate if they even are going to do anything. Immediately, the Patriots diagnose it. A few guys switch positions, run around.
Situational football.
They're all over it. Belichick had said the Colts like to do a lot of fake kicks, so he practiced a bunch of fake kicks. He didn't know which type of fake kick was coming, which direct play was going to be called, or formation, but So his guys are ready, and they diagnose it, and they all move over, and they send a certain amount of guys here, and then they played it perfectly. And then you're just waiting. Okay, they're gonna try to drive him off, and if they don't, which they're probably not going to, they're just gonna call a quick timeout.
See, I would just take the delay game. Why burn a timeout?
Well,
it's 5 yards.
Yeah, probably. That's probably what they could have done.
I wasn't expecting a timeout.
Were you expecting them to line up to line of scrimmage and say hut?
No.
I mean, that was ridiculous.
No, but you know what though? Who snapped? Griff Whalen snapped the ball, and Colt Anderson was the quote unquote quarterback on that play.
Oh, yeah, one of you guys is a wide receiver there. It's not.
Anderson looked completely stunned that he snapped the ball. He didn't look like he was prepared for it at all.
Well, and it was clearly a communication error, but they didn't practice it with those guys in practice.
My favorite thing.
How do you have a fake play? And a big fake play that's going to be the way to beat a team that's basically borderline unbeatable right now, that you haven't been able to beat or even compete with in 3-4 opportunities? What? There's been 4 games in a row they've got shellacked.
You got to take chances.
And I understand that. That's not a chance. That's just ridiculous.
Right.
And that was an actual play that was put out, and I don't know what Pagano was thinking. I don't know what the coordinator was thinking. I don't know what the players were thinking. Even if they had made the play somehow, if the Patriots... They weren't lined up.
Right, they were lined up 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
So it's
that's an illegal formation. It was going to get whistled back anyway. But you know what? Like, and I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way. There's 2 minutes left in the third. Did you really expect them to be within 6 points of the Patriots?
No, and this game showed a lot of possible Patriot flaws. And possible Patriot flaws it's odd because the biggest Patriot weakness, I think everyone would agree, is the secondary.
Right.
The secondary wasn't really the problem here. Actually, Patrick Chung covered T.Y. Hilton and shut him down for a lot of the game.
The defense was better in the second. It was pretty decent in the second half, actually.
Yeah, the defense was... the defense let up 28 points, but it wasn't really 28 by the defense. It was 7 by Edelman, and that's not to pick on Julian, but Julian, first of all...
He's had a couple drops.
He has a lot of drops. And it's not that I discredit him. Welker had a lot of drops. Every receiver is going to drop a lot. High volume receivers tend to drop percentage-wise maybe a little bit more than other guys because they get many winged at them.
His finger was also mangled. Like
I don't think that's an excuse. If he's in the game, he's got to catch that. I guess you could say Welker probably dropped a bunch because he was concussed. How many times did the dude look like he had cobwebs and Brady throws him the very next play? Hernandez used to actually drop a decent amount. Again, we're not contractually obligated to not speak about him. Gronk actually catches almost everything. Not everything.
Why did you say that?
It's true.
Yeah, I know.
His hands are like his hands are the size of baseball mitts. He just puts it up and goes.
He'll have hands like cinder blocks tomorrow when I'm there. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, but you know what? The point is, Edelman drops a lot of balls, and he created that turnover. Brady should still be. This should be a stat that's like quarterback interception, not on quarterback, something like that. Like an advanced statistic.
They can't have that because they would. Every single pick that Peyton throws, it would make not his fault somehow.
Yeah. If it was an ESPN statistic, Peyton would have 0 career picks.
I'd also like to point out that Peyton has 7 touchdowns and 10 picks, and he's leading the MVP voting right now.
And in the ESPN MVP voting, he probably is leading. But, no, to digress, by the way, I feel really bad about all the people at ESPN that are losing their jobs, but I have no remorse for them as a media outlet. They are completely biased. They're not journalistic. They're not fair. They don't do things the way they should do things, and they try to monopolize the entire industry. And they make up stats like QBR and stuff like that. They bought out one of my favorite websites, by the way, Pro Football Analytics. Not happy about that. But I'm sure that guy makes more money now than he did before. But ESPN just pushes anything they want down your throat, and then they just expect you to take it.
The NBA season's coming, so, get ready for LeBron James, had Cheerios today. Like he might have Captain Crunch tomorrow,
but his back hurts. So I'm thinking maybe if Peyton can't be NFL MVP, ESPN could push LeBron. Is LeBron NFL MVP this year?
Or no? All right, we're just getting off track and being ball busters. But right now, your MVP, it's probably Brady, Rodgers, and everyone else right now.
Yeah, it's Brady, Rodgers, and this is going to sound ridiculous because I think the guy's a buffoon.
Andy Dalton.
He's
having a good year.
Andy Dalton's playing ridiculous.
I'm not an Andy Dalton guy. He's having a good year.
The Red Rifle, whatever you want to call him, he's out there and he's slinging it. He has a ton of weapons, but that goes to another point, and we'll get on that in a short while, because I want to go back to the Colts game. But who really scares you in the AFC? But we can get on that in a moment. Let's go back to the Colts game again. Like Scotty was saying, the Colts were in the game. Now, it never felt like the game was in doubt. Even the Colts were up 21-20. By the way, Scott Chandler should not have been called for offensive pass interference. The defender made contact first. You could have called.
But you got to expect that on the road.
You could have called it either way.
I get that. But
it should have been a non-call. I mean, it's not his fault. He's 6'8", and the guy goes up to his elbow. I mean, that's just how the world works when you're 5'10", covering a 6'8" guy. That should not have. They should have been leading right there. But you go in halftime, 21-20, and realistically, everything in the game had gone the Colts' way. Everything. Mm-hmm. Not even one thing really went in the Patriots' way.
But my whole problem with that call, not only was it just horrendous and make no sense. Like, you're within 6. Everyone has been talking for a week. You're going to lose by 100 points, myself included. At that point, you're going to get cute when you're on your own 37 and you risk giving Tom Brady the ball back in the 37-yard line. Are you serious?
I agree, and that's why. No, this goes back to Patriot weaknesses that they've been showing the past few games, and since the Buffalo game, really, I guess you could say. They're not closing out teams.
They're sitting on leads.
This team has just as much possibility so far to be dominant as the 07 team. I don't think they're as dominant as the 07 team.
They're not as good as the 07
team. The 07 team's the best team I've ever seen. Scotty and I disagree on that. I think if you look at it logically without saying, it didn't win the Super Bowl, the 07 team is just ridiculous. They scored the most points that the league had ever seen. Their differential is beyond anything the league's ever seen still.
Something ridiculous.
The difference between the amount of points they scored and let up was more than the amount of points they let up, which is astronomical.
I still think that the 04 Patriots are the best Patriots team of all time. I put the 07 team second, even, losing the Super Bowl notwithstanding. But the 04 team, basically identical offensive and defensive line. You're not losing much there. The mainstays of
I disagree with that. I think the 07 team, offensive line-wise, best offensive line that the Patriots have had. If you go back and look at that offensive line, I mean, almost everyone made the Pro Bowl or All-Pro that year. It was ridiculous. Absolutely insane. It really was. Across the board, insane. I mean, Light was still there. Volma was there. Mankins. Neal. It was ridiculous.
Well, Copeland was the center for a good portion.
Copeland was the center,
and 04 team. Yeah, then he was on the 07 team.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it wasn't.
I'm just saying they had a better running game with Dillon. I think that's completely understated. Lawrence Maroney wasn't a bum, but he actually had he was actually good in those 2 playoff games.
But I actually thought Sammy Morris.
That's the injury no one talks about.
Sammy Morris, if he had stayed healthy, and I think if Roosevelt Colvin had stayed healthy that season, because he got injured that season as well, the 07 team probably definitely goes undefeated. But let's get off that. We'll go back to the Colts for a minute.
Let's close up the Colts. We'll move on to the Jets.
They showed a lot of weaknesses. Not weaknesses per se where it's like the rest of the league, where you say...
See, my biggest problem... Sorry to cut you off. My biggest problem was they're up 30... They score after aforementioned worst play ever. Go up 34-20... It's 34-21. They're up 13 points. It's roughly 10 minutes left. They're trying to kill the clock.
Yeah, I think they started trying to kill the clock with 11 and a half minutes left.
March down the field...
I understand they didn't want to do the Buffalo mistake of bomb the ball every time it's 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. I get that.
That's good that they learned from that, by the way, because if you play like that, it's going to lose your game. I was at the Buffalo game. My friends and I went on a road trip, and I was never really worried per se. But, I mean, the Bills cut it to 5.
They cut it to 5, but that game felt very similar to the Colts game, where even when it was a one-possession game, it didn't feel like the Patriots were going to lose. But the Patriots are letting these teams hang around. All it's going to take is some weird, crazy shit to happen, and they're going to lose. Like, if the Patriots kicked an onside, I mean, if Jamie Collins isn't incredible, by the way, great coaching by Belichick, because, I mean, I know Cam Chancellor did that a few years ago, a couple different times, but Belichick said, look, these guys, they've been this, he probably, physicsed it out and was like, listen, they're going to be 22 inches off the ground, you're going to jump at this height, this trajectory, you're going to block Adam Vinatieri, I want you to kill him. He's a traitor. Belichick probably gave him a speech like that, but Collins makes this incredible play to save it from being a 6-point game. And then you're really worried about if they get the onside kick, you could lose. Right. I mean, the worst lead in sports, by the way, is any NFL lead between 4 and 6 points if the other team's going to get the ball back. It's perpetual 4th down, and that's something I absolutely can't stand in this league because you almost cannot stop it.
The league is ridiculous to the point now that they should just make it 2 downs and make 3rd down, 4th down. Does that make sense?
I've actually thought,
take it down away.
And not to go crazy on what I think about what should be done in different leagues, because I have a lot of thoughts on that. Other than disbanding the divisions, because the divisions, 4 divisions, I know the schedule is perfect, but 4 division leaders, when a lot of people are going to get in 6 and 10, 7 and 9 with the way the league's set up now, is going to be ridiculous. Maybe not a lot of teams, but you're going to see more and more teams doing that. They should probably make it 15 yards or 20 yards for a first down. I mean, if they're going to let them play the way they play now, and most quarterbacks throw, 65, 66% completions?
One rule
Every completion is 12 yards nowadays. I mean,
one rule I'd like to see change is the spot of the foul. Just make it 15 yards.
Which one, for pass interference?
All you got to do if you're, if you're Joe Flacco, just huck it up to the end zone, draw a penalty, and you're on the 1 yard line. I hate that.
Well, that's the problem I have with penalties.
Just make it 15
penalties
yards.
Penalties over 15 yards should automatically be reviewed, similar to a turnover. Because if you're going to give someone a 44-yard pass interference, you better be sure it's a pass interference. Now, I know that's hard to review because it's a judgment call, but you're giving away and changing the outcomes of games based on some guy just bombing it up and you thinking someone else touched someone's toe. I mean, that's a little ridiculous. Again, not to get into what I want changed completely, but offense is offensive. It really is. There's no other way to say it.
Let's put it this way, and we'll move on to the Jets and Colts after this. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl as your quarterback. That would never happen today, and it's never going to happen again.
No, and this goes back to
you can't win like that anymore.
This goes back to what we talked about before. A lot of bum coaches, in my opinion, have won Super Bowls, or people that you wouldn't say are great coaches. I think you could say that with quarterbacks as well. I mean, Eli Manning, he's going to end up being a Hall of Famer. Completely different topic. It's sad to say, but he's mediocre. I mean, other than Mark Sanchez in a 5-year stretch, he was the quarterback that turned the ball over the most in the league. Flacco, other than his monstrous playoff run, completely mediocre. Big Ben, when he won his Super Bowls, mediocre. I mean, he's actually a really good quarterback now.
He was the man in that second one.
I'm not saying he didn't do some incredible things.
I know Santonio Holmes made the catch to clinch it, but
I'm saying that Joe Flacco was the man when he won the Super Bowl. I mean, look at his run.
He was tremendous.
He's still a mediocre quarterback. You know what? Russell Wilson's probably a mediocre quarterback. We're not even going to get into Colin Kaepernick, who could have won a Super Bowl, because I have bets on him.
You know what, though? There are a lot of teams like the Bills, the Browns, the Lions, who probably go to bed every night and pray that they have a mediocre quarterback that can win the Super Bowl.
And that's the thing, is that teams want and settle for mediocrity at the quarterback position because it's a position where players fizzle out so much. I mean, you're going to get a ton of E.J. Manuels and Geno Smiths and Mark Sanchez's, so you need to keep the Alex Smith. It's kind of a joke. I mean, you get a guy that's going to win you half your games, and you're like, oh yeah, let's keep him. Let's overpay him. That's the problem with quarterback, is it's a position where you need to accept a mediocre quarterback, but it means so much to the game that look at how the league is. Look at all the great teams and all the terrible teams right now. And for the most part, I mean, you have 5 undefeated teams. We're going to sit here and tell you Peyton's probably playing worse out of every quarterback in the league, correct? That's the starter, probably. Maybe Kaepernick's up there.
Especially with who Peyton is.
Well, and who Peyton... I also going to tell you, for the weapons Peyton has, I mean, I could quarterback probably as good as he is.
Peyton's a top 5 quarterback of all time, even with all the underachievement, all the playoff chokes. Guy's top 5. This is not Peyton Manning. We are not watching Peyton Manning right now.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
We're not.
But the fact that his team is undefeated is almost an aberration. I mean, Cam Newton's actually playing really well, so I understand why his team is undefeated. The other 3 undefeated teams are all headed by studs right now at quarterback.
Who?
Rodgers, Brady, and Dalton.
I wouldn't say Dalton's a stud.
Dalton's been playing like a stud.
He has, but he's not a stud. He's playing... Hey, you know what? Maybe he proves me wrong. I still can't...
You just can't wrap the fact around the fact that it's Andy Dalton playing incredible.
You know that? No, it's not just Andy Dalton. It's Andy Dalton and it's Marvin Lewis. Okay.
Oh, and we're not there yet, because in the playoffs, I'm telling you right now, they're both going to piss their pants and shit themselves, and they're going to lose in the first round, or the first time they have to go on the road. One of those two situations.
The official theme song of the Cincinnati Bengals is "The Who's Won't Get Fooled Again." All right, I won't get fooled again. I'm not. I refuse.
All right, and that's fine. But this goes into, realistically, who's going to challenge the Patriots?
That's a topic for another day. I mean, it's week 6. It's week 7.
But who? Honestly, scariest team to me in the AFC?
Pittsburgh.
without a doubt.
Yep.
I mean, Big Ben's down, and they're still winning games.
Best receiver in the game, arguably.
Antonio Brown's probably the best receiver in the game. Le'Veon Bell. You have Martavius Bryant,
right?
Who's now the three of them together. You don't have a threesome like that.
And like the defense isn't like vintage like Pittsburgh Steelers defense that we've seen over the years. The Bill Cowher, Steelers defenses.
Well, it's not a Dick LeBeau defense, but you know what? That might be a good thing because Dick LeBeau never, ever changed what he was doing. He lined up, and if you could beat him, it worked unless you knew how to beat him. And Belichick and the Patriots always knew how to beat Dick LeBeau, and Dick LeBeau never negotiated and never changed and never turned into a chameleon and said, I got to do this different. He never did that. And so because of that, Dick LeBeau was always going to lose to the Patriots. Just the way it was.
On that point, though, their defense has been a little bit better.
Yeah, the defense has been playing better.
A little bit.
And maybe they'll keep improving.
If they're just okay with Big Ben and a healthy Roethlisberger and that offensive line and those receivers and the running back, yeah.
Yeah, they're scary.
Yeah.
I mean, Cincinnati, they're scary in the regular season. Let's see what they're going to be. Maybe paper Bengals. We'll see.
Colts don't worry me at all. Zero.
No, Scotty's not worried of the Colts. I'm not worried of the Colts. I thought they were going to be much better. I thought they were going to make the AFC Championship game. I'm not going to lie.
Denver's
defense is scary.
It's legit.
It's definitely legit.
But if Peyton's like this, does that bother you? Does that worry you?
No, Peyton with this defense, I don't think they can win a Super Bowl. Even with this defense.
Peyton couldn't. Let's put it this way. When Peyton was young, with better receivers in Indy, arguably, he couldn't come in here and win healthy. And when he had like a B-plus arm. Because that's really the highest. Did he ever have anything more than a B-plus arm? He had a good arm.
No.
He didn't have a great arm.
Peyton's never had a great arm.
Now?
Brady actually has a better arm than Peyton does. And Brady doesn't have the best arm in the league. Brady has a very good arm. But Peyton never had the arm. It was always that CPU in his head. Just the way he sees the game, the way he does things, the way he handles himself, the preparation, the way that he can diagnose and figure out what's going on way before anybody else.
You got to give the man credit. He's a tremendous quarterback. He studies more than anybody, prepares more than anybody, and that doesn't change the fact that his lone Super Bowl came against Rex Grossman.
I know.
But let's.
Then the next biggest threat probably is your game this week, the Jets. How big of a threat are the Jets in the AFC?
Yeah, let's get into that now. Good segue.
If the Jets win this week, are you not sitting here completely reevaluating your season predictions?
Well, here's the thing. I didn't know what I was going to get from. The Jets MVP right now is the linebacker that Buffalo scooped up who knocked out Geno, broke his freaking jaw. I can't even think of his name.
EK, whatever his name is.
Yeah, I can't think of his name, but. Geno is the quarterback of this team. What are they, 3-3? Probably.
I don't know. And
Fitzpatrick, when he was with the Bills, he wasn't great, but he was okay.
This is what Fitzpatrick does. It's like he's out there doing his advanced Harvard math. The first half of the season, first quarter of the season.
Good Will Hunting.
He's killing everybody. Yeah, he's like, how do you like them apples? Then at some point, somebody comes up to him and they say, what do you know of love? And he gets stumped. Because halfway through the season, Fitzpatrick always seems to turn into a bum, into what he is, a turnover machine, somebody that teams have figured out. Now, granted, look, the Jets have a good running game with Chris Ivory. They got strong lines. Mm-hmm. They have a really good defense across the board.
They probably have the best defensive line in the AFC.
They're probably the best defensive line in the league. I'm trying to think of who has a better defensive line. Buffalo has a very good defensive line. The Broncos have a very good defensive line rushing. Green Bay has been able to create a lot of pressure. Carolina seems like they have a legit defense. Arizona's defense, Seattle's defense.
Miami should have a good D-line, but
to be realistic with you, the AFC East in general, the Patriots have the worst D-line, and they actually have an above-average defensive line.
D-line's been good. This is the best D-line since probably
Oh, that's what I mean. If the Patriots have one of the best defensive lines they've had in quite a while, not overall, but probably in past 5 or 6 years, maybe.
Easy.
Because they can create pressure, they can do a lot of things. It's not an 0-3-0-4 line by any means.
No, but they're good. Sheart's not playing tomorrow.
Yeah,
so that's going to affect.
Sheart's not going to play. Hightower's questionable. Cannon's probably out. So you sit.
He's out.
You're starting Cameron Fleming.
He activated LaFell though.
Oh yeah, LaFell's active, so he should be back. Should be playing. They said he might be on a quote unquote pitch count, play a certain amount of plays.
Yeah, he'll play I don't know, 15 snaps, 20 snaps. They'll use them situationally.
He plays 20, 25 snaps. I see that as a big win for the team.
I think I look at this game, and I think the key for the Patriots is Chris Ivory. What you need to do if you're the Patriots, you need to get some stops early. You need to get an early lead. Say they're up 14-0. That's going to force Fitzpatrick to throw. They're not going to be running the ball. That's how the Patriots got to win this game. So if Ivory, let's put it this way, if Ivory rushes for 75 or less, Pats are in good shape. If it's 100 or more, they're in trouble. That's what it comes down to.
See, I disagree on the yardage. I think it's important to bottle up Ivory. I don't think the yardage matters so much. I think the Jets are going to have to run a lot. So I think the Patriots are going to make the Jets want to run. Not that they're even going to show them looks that the Jets should be running into, per se, because they might be stacking the box. I think maybe you double Marshall sometimes.
You know what?
Decker, he shouldn't be too much of a problem. I mean, I don't like facing big wide receivers because they have a huge advantage on the outside.
They're going to bracket Marshall with McCourty over the top.
They might. I mean, but the Patriots have been bringing a lot of safeties down into the box. McCourty might have to cover tight ends a lot. He does that. You don't have the greatest cover guys, but I mean, maybe you put Butler on Marshall and say, here you go.
See what he can do.
See what you can do. But try to stop the run, but the Jets are going to have to run most of the time. I mean, they're going to try to eat possessions. Every team now that plays the Patriots are going to have to try to eat the clock. Not that time of possession means so much, but when you're playing Tom Brady or a great quarterback, you can only give them so many chances. You don't want to give Larry Bird 17 chances to hit a game winner. He's going to hit it in one of the first couple. Tom Brady's the same way. Tom Brady's in that zone now where if you give him 13 possessions, that team might score on 9 or 10.
But the Ivory factor, too. Jets get a lead, they can run the ball, keep Brady off the field. That's how you beat the Patriots. Keep him on the sideline.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why they're going to run.
The Jets can do that.
So I'm not even worried about the yardage per se. I mean, the Jets could have 120 yards. It matters how much clock they're eating and if they're actually scoring. Because if, like you said, if the Patriots take a lead, once it's 10 points or more, the Patriots take a lead, they're going to have to throw. They're still going to want to run Ivory, but unless they're getting chunk yardage with runs, they can run all day if you're behind. That doesn't bother me at all. You can rack up those yards and waste the time once we're winning. Hightower being out, if he's out, that's going to be big. That really worries me because the team, I mean, Gerard Mayo is not back to anywhere near what he used to be. He's just not. You have Bostic, who he's athletic. I mean, he's playing special teams, but he should be able to cover. You have Freeney, who's the rookie. He's been playing okay. But really, you have Jamie Collins out there, who's a stud. Don't get me wrong. Jamie Collins all over the place. One of the nice, best young linebackers there are.
But he can't cover the middle of the field by himself.
No, even as great of a cover guy as he is.
Mayo's lousy in pass coverage. I'm going to say you're going to
Mayo was not lousy.
You're going to say no, he's not that bad pass coverage. He was lousy in pass coverage.
Yeah, this is the thing I get on Patriots fans for, and I get on fans basically on every NFL team. Guess what, guys? I want to tell you right now, every linebacker in the NFL sucks in coverage. They get burned a good percentage of the time. More so than cornerbacks. Let me tell you, cornerbacks get burned all the time nowadays. That's the way offenses are set up. But when a tight end runs a nice little slant pattern, if he's open, the quarterback's throwing it to him, that's going to happen almost all the time when you get in the linebacker coverage. Linebackers can't cover running backs. They can't cover Gronk. They can't cover fast tight ends. They can't cover receivers that are playing slot.
Right.
Linebackers can't cover anybody. So when I hear people saying, oh, this guy sucks in coverage, compared to Darrelle Revis, sure. Compared to a great slot cornerback, sure. Compared to great safety play by like E.T. or even Devin McCourty, sure. But linebackers in general are not good at covering. So when people say that Mayo wasn't good at coverage, they need to realize he was probably a B+ or better coverage man at one point in his career. Maybe when he was younger. Now, obviously, he's not now. His legs, I don't even know if he has a leg anymore. I mean, that just might be a fake leg. But Collins is actually great in coverage. Hightower's been great in coverage, especially for a man. He's a behemoth. He's a huge individual. No, behemoth, you can say it either way.
It's not tomato.
Yeah, it is, actually.
Ketchup, catsup. To answer your question from earlier, though, am I surprised that the Jets are good? Yes and no. I knew their D was going to be good. Your corners are, Cromartie and Revis with that defensive line. You're going to be good.
But if I told you the Jets were going to come in here this week with 1 loss, you would have said I was crazy.
Well, here's the thing. Before the season, when I said, the Jets will be like a 7-9 team, I expected Geno to be their starting quarterback. Fitzpatrick is playing really well. You got to give him credit. I mean,
but he does this. This is like the
I get that.
This is the Cincinnati Bengals thing all over again. How many times are you going to let this guy fool you?
Well, it's early.
He's always great early.
If the Patriots lose tomorrow, I still expect them to win the division.
Didn't Buffalo give him a $60 million contract after they beat the Patriots that year? And granted, it was funny
is that the one
Brady threw 4 picks, and half the picks were like almost all the picks.
Woodhead
bobbled. Another one of our guys like tipped into the defender's hands. Like almost every pick was like this insane like Edelman type thing from last week.
And they lost on a field goal.
And the Patriots barely lost the Bills, and then the Bills went out and signed Fitzpatrick to this ridiculous deal to a guy that wasn't proven. He had 4 good games, and that's what happens. Fitzpatrick always has 4, 5, 6 good games, then he just shits the bed. I mean, how many times he's like that guy that every race has. The rabbit out in front, he's the pace setter. He's supposed to go run really fast for half the race. Everyone's like, "Oh, look at him! He could win! Look at how fast he's running!" And then he falls over and dies. And the Kenyans come up and beat him. You know what I mean? Because that's what happens. That's what this is.
No, like even if the Patriots,
he's a pace setter.
Even if the Patriots lose tomorrow, I still expect them to win the division. I'm not worried about that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if the Patriots lose tomorrow, I'm sitting here thinking.
Well, the Jets are in first place.
Jets are 5-1. They're in first place. You got to figure with the Jets remaining schedule, they're going to at least be a playoff team. You got to figure if the Jets are 5-1 and they beat the Patriots, that shows you they're a real quality team. What are they going to lose? 4 games maybe? Well, now you have to make sure you don't lose 4 games because they already have the leg up on you. So I'm not saying that you're worried about or definitely going to lose the division at that point. Because I personally think the Patriots are going to go 14-2 or 14.5 and 1.5 because they might even go 15-1.
Well, let's look at the rest of their schedule.
Yeah.
You got Miami on a Thursday. Even though it's the Dolphins and you're at home, it's a short week. Only 2 days to prepare. I mean, that's a tough game. Washington the week after that.
Miami's also revitalized with that jacked up coach.
Oh, PC Principal from South Park?
Yeah.
Looks just like him.
He does.
I mean, you got Miami on the short week. You get 10 days off to prepare for Washington. Ooh. At the Giants, this isn't the 07 Giants defensive line. I expect the Patriots to win that game easily.
Okay, so, and I would agree with that, but let's just say, worst case scenario, Patriots lose this week twice.
See, the one...
How much different does the season look?
What, if they lose tomorrow?
Lose tomorrow and lose Thursday. Short week, not a lot of preparation.
I don't think they're going to, but hypothetically, I mean, they're still 5-2. They got a lot of time to get it together. They beat Washington. They will beat Washington.
They're still a playoff team, but I mean, it's just one of those things where this could really quickly change drastically.
They're still going to win the division.
I think the Patriots will probably win both of these games. And if they win both, like you said, a lot of time for Washington. If the Patriots win both of these games, and they even do so in convincing fashion, you're sitting here really wondering about undefeated. You are. Granted, it's early.
I'm not going there.
It's one of those things I don't think is going to happen.
If they're 13-0, I'll talk about it. But until then, I'm not.
Oh, even then, I mean, it's one of those things where once you get past probably like 9-0, every team gives you the best game.
The Denver game is.
You have pressure on you. The Denver game's huge. It's at Denver. You don't play well in Denver. You don't play well in Miami. The Jets in New York could be in New Jersey, but the Jets away could be a much bigger, tougher game for you.
Well, you end the season at the Jets at Miami. So,
what if the Jets need to make the playoffs? Like, they need a win to make the playoffs. You're playing for 16-0.
You got to play them.
I understand that, but
Bill's going to play them. He plays them anyway.
Do you not think that in New York the Jets could still win that game?
Absolutely, yeah.
Or in New Jersey, but you guys understand.
Yeah, they get it. But the Denver game bugs me because, like you said, like there are 2 venues that Brady historically just never plays well
in Denver and in Miami.
That's it.
Both those games are going to be games that you're going to have to win to go 16-0. Again, not something that's probably going to happen. Give it about a 2% chance.
Brady's won in Denver twice in his career. The Monday night in 03. Well, he hit Givens. That was the intentional safety game. He hit Givens with like 30 seconds.
That coaching decision, by the way, one of Belichick's finest. Maybe his finest. Really was.
I still think his best call was going for the 4th and 2 in Indy.
4th and 2 was. I was going to say that was actually a great call I put up there, but the punt one is just you're giving the team points, and everyone thinks you're an idiot, and it makes you ultimately win the game.
If you punt it, Denver's going to get the ball at midfield and probably score a touchdown.
Right.
Or
so
at least get a field goal anyway.
No, it's hindsight is 2020. We all see what he was thinking now, but at the time, people were looking at him like, "What the hell's this guy doing?" Like, even astute and smart football people were like, this is probably not something I would do.
I remember at the time, I was like, after a couple of minutes, I was like, oh, you know what? That's probably why. Like, it didn't come right away. You're right. Your first reaction is, what the hell's he doing? What are they doing? But there was that game, and then the game in 11, which shouldn't even count as a win, because Tim Tebow was a quarterback. And I love Tebow, but come on, man. It's Tim Tebow.
But
Tim Tebow.
Could Tim Tebow play better than Peyton right now?
Yeah.
We'd have to go there.
Yep. Yeah, I think we do.
I mean, Peyton's going to stay on, and he's going to get the all-time yardage mark.
He's just like, what, 800 yards away?
It's a sad, sad state of affairs for Peyton Manning.
I mean, I'm having trouble watching it. I mean, it's sad to watch. It really is. Like, other Patriot fans are laughing at it and taking pleasure in watching it. I take no pleasure.
It's 50-50 for me.
I take no pleasure in watching a former great player.
It's a comedy tragedy. I mean, I watch it, I smile. I watch it, I cry. I mean, it's one of those things.
Full disclosure, I'm a Patriot fan. I get no enjoyment from seeing Peyton go through this. I think if I could talk to him today, I'd say, look, you had a great career. It's time to go. It's time to walk away. Like, save some freaking dignity. He just looks so
that's why I laugh once in a while. Like, I really feel bad for the guy, but then I'm like, this is self-inflicted. He doesn't have to be out there doing that. He doesn't have to be out there selling himself. Like, if I'm a kid that's just started watching the NFL today...
I think that's half of it. I mean, he wants to win. He's always wanted to win.
Oh, he wants to win, but I think a lot of this is... And I shared a thing with some of my friends is, you know, he's going after personal gains right now.
What else does he have?
He has to know that the way he's playing can't win a Super Bowl. I mean, if you legitimately, if you drugged him up with Truth Serum today and said, the way you're playing right now, can you win a Super Bowl? I mean, I don't know if he's going to be able to throw in January. He might be just able to hand it off. But maybe they'll still win the Super Bowl. Who knows? I mean, mark that down.
They can't win the Super Bowl. Not like that. The sad thing is, Denver fans have to be saying to themselves, where the hell was this defense 2 years ago? You know? I mean, they still may have lost to Seattle anyway. I'm not saying that. But they have this defense with the team that was racking up 45 points a game 2 years ago.
And I get that, but the thing is that defenses, a lot of times, play to the level that their offense allows them to play. And what I mean by that is, when your offense is doing a breakneck pace and scoring 1 million points, every other team is trying to score 1 million points on you and speed the game up too. And it lends itself to defenses letting up more points.
Do you remember that Dallas game that year? It was like 52-48 or something ridiculous like that.
So what happens is your offense is scoring more points, your defense ends up letting up more points. It's not necessarily that the defense is better or worse, it's just that they're playing a different type of style. When the way Denver's playing now, they're running it more, they're not scoring as much. They're in defensive battles.
Look at Sunday. Look at Sunday in Cleveland.
How's the defensive battle?
Well, no, the defense got tired because they were on the field so much because Peyton kept going 3 and out. Yeah. By the way, no team in professional sports loses like the Cleveland Browns. That was just so sad. How do you... They pick off Manning in overtime. They have the ball at like the 40. They pitched it to the running back and lost like 5 yards. They went from the 40 to like across midfield. They backed up like 22 yards, and I'm thinking
they actually should have won the game. I told my dad all they had to do was 3 quarterback sneaks, just 3 quarterback dives straight up the middle, try to kick the field goal.
They would have missed the field goal.
They probably, because it's Cleveland. But
right.
Getting back to the Jets, I'm going to predict a win. I'm going to predict that.
You got a score?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to predict it's going to be a little bit different than people think. I think it's going to be 30-21. So depending on what line you bet, they may cover, they may not. But I think 30-21. I see probably the Patriots going up, staying up relatively decent. The Jets not getting really close. The Patriots pulling away, getting to 30, and the Jets probably scoring a garbage touchdown like Patriots have been allowing. I think it's going to be a relatively close game, even though that score doesn't sound ridiculously close. But 9 points in the NFL nowadays is not a big margin.
No, it's not. It really isn't. Not with the offense. I think the Patriots get ahead early. Forces Fitzpatrick to throw. He throws a couple of picks. Like you said, I don't expect the Patriots to move the ball up and down the field. I think that'd be foolish. I think the Jets defense is playing that well, but I still think they do enough to win. This isn't going to be a game where they hang 40 on somebody. I'm going to say like Pats 27, Jets 17, like something like that.
Just for the record, I want to go through Tom Brady versus teams with number 1 scoring and total defense, okay? Week 7 or later, and this includes postseason for his career. His win-loss record is 6-0. His completion percentage, again, this is against number 1 scoring and total defensive teams, is 66.7. And his passing yards per game is 293.7. His touchdown to interceptions are 13-5. And his passer rating is 98.1. That's absurd. And Tom Brady doesn't get enough credit for things like this, that he is absolutely...
Well, it's because he was deflating the ball. So
yeah, because he deflates balls, he annihilates number one defenses. No one in the history of the league annihilates teams like he does. But the Jets right now are the number one scoring in total defense.
They're 1 and 2 in basically every category.
Yeah. Also, for the record, this was pointed out to me by one of my cousins that Scotty knows a couple years ago. The Patriots, after Week 6, under Belichick and Brady, average almost an extra touchdown per game.
Except the 07 team. That team regressed as the season went on.
Well, that team actually, they first 4 or 5 weeks they sucked, then they were good for about 3 or 4 weeks. They dropped out 45 to 59, and then they went back to the 30s.
The 07 team didn't suck the first few weeks.
Well, they didn't suck, but they scored 38.
They won 38-14 the first 2 weeks. That sucks.
That's
no. Damn good.
Offensively, they didn't
peak yet.
They didn't start in 50s. They started, but almost, even if you include that team, if you go look through all the years and add up the points per game, weeks 1 through 6, and then after week 6, you're going to see a giant spike in points that you didn't really realize. The Patriots offense generally gets better as the season goes on, which makes sense because the overall team gets better.
Really quick, before we move on from the Jets, non-game related, Revis, what kind of reception does he get, if at all?
Revis gets a mixture of boos and chairs to start out. A spattering. I'd say mostly chairs, but some boos. Later in the game, he's going to get booed a lot. I personally would boo him.
See, I wouldn't. I'm not going to cheer him. I'm not going to boo him.
I booed Ray Allen. I boo people that leave. I'm a fan of the laundry, okay? I like the player. Ray Allen left me for the rings. I get it.
I would never boo Ray Allen.
Revis left me for the money. I get it. I mean, I actually clapped and gave, when they actually did the Ray tribute, I cheered for him there too. But, I mean, I do respect what the guys do. I do give them kudos, and as a fan, I will never forget things that they did for my team. And I don't have any problem with Revis being this, but he's a mercenary. He was always.
Yeah, you know what though? Like,
I don't blame him. You took the money. That's great, guy.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like booing Revis I know he went to the Jets and it's apples and oranges. Like booing Revis to me would be like booing James Posey when he came back in like 2009 with the to play the Celtics. I think he signed with New Orleans that offseason.
That's different for me though, because see, Revis was a Jet. Then he went to Tampa, which was garbage for him. But then he came here, won a ring, and then he left and became a Jet again. He literally, his heart and soul and his money is with our rival, with probably the team the Patriots hate the most. Correct? The Jets, Jets and Patriots.
Either them or Indy.
Okay, so why would I respect a guy? I mean, I don't want to say it. I don't. That's the wrong word because I actually do respect him. But why would I cheer for a guy? I'll be happy about a guy that literally is a part of and is on my rival, and completely spurn my team to go to that rival. Now, I don't care that he did it for the money. That's fine. I understand that. It's business. He needs to get paid. The Patriots could have offered him more money.
You know what, though? Like,
it was all about the money. That's the truth.
How much money do you need?
You don't, and that's the thing. When you actually break it down, I broke it down, it ends up being like $600,000 a year when you break down the actual guarantees and everything from the supposed Patriots offer to the Jets offer. When you're figuring in income tax and all that other good cost of living in New York, great, grand, and wonderful.
Yeah, you know what? You're leaving out endorsements. He makes some of that back, too.
Yeah, he could probably make the endorsements here, though. That's the thing. But I honestly think
New York's a big.
It was mostly about money, but it was you could make a lot of dude. If you're in the World Championship team, you can make endorsements anyway. You could endorse things in India.
No, I get that, but
I mean, Edelman's been all over the place. I've seen Edelman on more TV than Edelman's been around more than Brian Williams. All right, he has stories about everything nowadays. He got shot at with an RPG in a helicopter. Okay, Edelman has definitely become a giant personality and done tons of endorsements because he's a Super Bowl winner. I mean, and Edelman's not even half the player Revis is. Now, maybe Edelman's a good-looking dude and he's marketable, sure. But Revis can market himself. I mean, Revis could make a ton of money in endorsements in Boston. And again, I don't mind that he left. Personally, I wouldn't have signed him. It jeopardizes Collins. It jeopardizes Hightower.
Oh, you lose those two guys.
It jeopardizes
you signed him long term.
Chandler Jones. It jeopardizes Solder. They signed Solder, and that looks bad now because he just tore his bicep.
You know what, though? Like, hindsight's always 20/20. Do you consider just paying him the $20-so million just for the year? Your cap is wrecked for 1 year, and then you just try to win another one.
I would have, but I don't think Revis would have played. And I think Belichick and Revis
He would have
I
played.
think Belichick and Revis always had an agreement that they weren't going to do that.
But he doesn't play. He doesn't get paid. He would have paid.
I understand that, and that's why. But
he said on record, I wouldn't have been happy about it, but I would have shown up and played.
I don't believe him.
I do.
I think they had a gentleman's agreement that Belichick wasn't going to pick that up so that Revis could go make more money. I think that's the only reason Revis signed. As Belichick said, listen, I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars for this year with this poison pill for myself next year so I can't keep you, and then we're going to let you go. You're going to be a free agent. You're going to be able to cash in after we win a Super Bowl. I think that's how Belichick sold him on it. Revis said, sure, sounds great, coach. I don't think Revis really fit in here. I don't think Revis tried his hardest here at times with practices earlier on in the season and the preseason. He got better as things went on. He was late that one time.
He came to play every time.
I'm not saying he didn't come to play, and I'm not saying he's
the practice stuff.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's an incredible professional.
Allen Iverson needed practice. I mean, that crap's overrated.
It is and it isn't. I think to Brady and Belichick, it's very important. I think there's a slight difference in philosophy between Revis and Belichick. I think that's why in the beginning, even with Revis, they played a bunch of zone when they didn't need to.
Right. When they started playing man, they took off.
Right. And so I think there's conceptual disagreements between Belichick and Revis. That's just me. I don't think that they 100% meshed. If they did 100%, I think Belichick might have paid him a little bit more and Revis would have stayed.
Even if they matched the just offer, I'm not positive he would have stayed.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think, even though it was for the money, I also think his heart is in New York. So I'm not mad about it. Actually, I'm happy that he went to the Jets because it spices things up a little bit. I don't think he was going to be worth the money throughout the 3 years because that's a 3-year deal. Let's be realistic here. I think next year and the year after, you're going to really be like, is this worth paying this guy $16 million to cover people when he can't cover? Because then I'm on record as saying this last year, just so you know. This is not me being a Patriots owner.
No, we have proof. We can look it up.
He is on the decline. He was on the decline last year.
Not by much, but he's on the decline.
He's not the 2009-2010 Darrelle Revis. I mean, that's absurd.
That's pretty knee injury, too.
Exactly, and that's absurd for you to think that someone can stay on that level, but he's not on that level. If he was on that level last year, I would have said pay him the damn money for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? He wasn't. He's still great, one of the best, if not the best cornerback in football, but there's holes. There's things where he gets burnt. There's things that...
that's every corner, though.
Yeah, but you never used to see Darrelle Revis get burnt in a way. And you know this. If you're
except by Randy Moss.
If you're a guy with speed and a guy that can cover people, you know that even if they're making catches, you're on them. And you don't give them giant cushions because you have the speed. Revis last year with fast guys was given more of a cushion. You can go check the tape because it's there. He was getting burnt more by fast guys. I mean, he got destroyed by Mike Wallace once on a double move. Absolutely destroyed. And Mike Wallace didn't catch a touchdown because it's Tannehill throwing to him. But Tom Brady probably...
Was that the game up here? Or was it the first week?
The first week.
It was
Week 1, I believe. He got destroyed. If you go watch the tape of that single play...
He made another...
The Jordy Nelson play, he was a little out of position. That was on him.
Yeah, but you know what?
You can blame McCourty, but that was on...
He was kind of... Well, the thing is, he was sort of leading him into McCourty in a way.
Yeah, but see, I don't know if McCourty was supposed to be ready for that. I also think that Revis was only leading him in there because Revis was worried that Jordy was going to burn him, because he probably was. And Revis 3-4 years ago, I mean, barring knee injury year, Revis would have covered anybody straight up. He left more room and he did more things to get help, which isn't a problem, but he's an aging cornerback. I mean, cornerbacks are like running backs. Their shelf life is very, very, you're dead. That's how it goes. They're right off a cliff. So 29, 30,
there are very
31,
few corners.
You can look great. Out of nowhere, Champ Bailey can't cover. And he actually hung on for a bit.
Champ Bailey was good well into his 30s, and then he just hit a wall.
Till about 32, 33. Yeah. Revis is 30 this year. He'll be 31 next year. So you're betting on him at 30, 31, 32. The guy with the surgically repaired knee already. Again, not saying he won't be a good corner or possibly a great corner. I mean, after this contract, he's going to have to move to safety if he's going to continue to play. Just the way it is. He's physical enough. He has the smarts.
So, going to the game tomorrow, full disclosure, I don't know if Mr. Kraft is going to do a video for him thanking him. I kind of doubt it, but if he does, I'll clap for the video. I'm not going to overtly cheer him, but I'm definitely not going to boo him. I will be eternally grateful he helped my team win a Super Bowl. That can't be understated. It can't be forgotten. Without him, we're looking down the barrel of a 10-plus year drought. So, Patriot fans everywhere, I'm not saying that you gotta give him a standing O and cheer for him. Just don't boo him. That's classless. Don't boo him.
Do whatever you want, Patriot fans. And I'm also going to sit here and disagree. Well, I think Revis was one of the 3 best players on the team and extremely important. I think you could have and would have won a ring without Revis last year?
You're nuts.
And my reason for saying that is
freaking way.
That was on Gronk. Not that he was the only player, but in 2011,
yeah, they had Gronk, Welker, and Hernandez.
They had Edelman last year. They had Blount. They had Brady playing friggin' ridiculous.
They don't win without Revis.
They win with a healthy Gronk last year. The health of Gronk is what runs this team. I mean, barring the health of Brady, who's of the utmost important.
Runs the offense.
It runs the team, though, because the offense runs the team. Just the way it is.
I totally disagree.
The defense last year was pretty good, but they weren't great.
Revis was the key.
They weren't incredible. It's not like the defense was the 85 Bears. They weren't.
It wasn't, but...
I could sit here and tell you this defense might be better than last year's defense.
Here's the thing. Revis did something that no Patriot cornerback... Asante Samuel did it to a lesser extent, but I'm talking...
That's crap, because Asante Samuel was an All-Pro in 2007, and he was actually a stud. He might have been the best cornerback in the league that year. Okay?
But I'm talking...
Ty Law was a stud.
I'm going back to Ty Law. Completely shuts down half of the field.
Asante Samuel did that. I don't think people remember that.
And he dropped the pick.
All right, Asante Samuel in 2007 was probably as good as Revis last year. Yeah, you can mark that on the calendar. You can look it up. You can check it. You can watch the tape. You can look at anything you want to look at. That's what I'm going with there. Okay, so I think the Patriots are going to win the game by 9 points.
You got 30-21. I got 27-17. So we're right in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
I still think a 10-point spread is ridiculous. I don't know if it's gone down or up.
I think it's ridiculous because of the NFL guys and 10-point spreads against really good teams in the NFL. I mean, Vegas knows what they're doing, but these spreads are all like the Patriots can win by 7 and actually dominate and let up a garbage time touchdown, and everyone bets on the Patriots.
Yeah, but the spread with the extra point being moved back now, Vegas has to hate that because teams are going to be going for 2 points way more often than they did before.
Well,
that's going to screw up some lines.
I know people that think last week's game was on the fix. I mean, think about it. What was the line last week, Scotty?
I can't remember off the top of my head. But, I mean, the Patriots won by 7 points.
But what was the line? About 12, 13 a lot of places?
Something like that.
Okay.
They gave up. The
Patriots were actually winning the spread in a lot of, depending on what you got.
They were covering.
They were covering almost everywhere. Not everywhere necessarily. It always depends on where you bet and when you bet. But suddenly... Belichick shuts down the offense. McDaniel shuts down the offense for a quarter. And Indy comes back and scores a touchdown. Huh. We'll leave you with that. Come back after the break. Chris and Cash show back again, ladies and gents. Full effect, bringing you some good old 2001 music.
Shout out to Dr. Dre. All right. I don't know where to start on the Bruins. You tell me.
Let's go into the Bruins for a bit.
I'll be honest with you. I've been so immersed in the baseball playoffs, I haven't watched a ton.
I've watched a little bit here and there, seen the highlights. I'm not too impressed. I'm not sure this team is even going to make the playoffs. I mean, they may. It may be a 7th or an 8th seed. But.
You know what, though? Like, we knew that they were a team in transition. They, I want
to talk about the transition for a moment. Bruins fans, you kind of pissed me off. The last 5 years, I've seen all of you on Facebook, people that I never even knew were Bruins fans. Full disclosure, as Scotty likes to say, the Bruins are my 4th team. I don't watch the Bruins that much. I'm not a huge Bruins fan. I'm still a bigger Bruins fan than 3/4 of you. And you guys do not watch the Bruins when they suck. And none of you talk about the Bruins when they suck. And none of you come out of your little holes until the Bruins stop being awesome. And then you'd be like, Krejci!
They're my 4th team, too. I'm not even a Red Sox fan, and, the Red Sox probably ahead of the Bruins.
Yeah,
but just because, I'm a baseball guy, so that comes a part of it.
I feel like 3/4 of the Bruins fans are pink hats. Have you heard a Bruins fan recently?
You know what, though?
Do they even exist?
Bruins fans, I go to a handful of Bruins games a year. The Bruins fans,
we've been to one before.
They're probably the least pink hatish of all the. Red Sox are number 1. They're the worst.
Let's say that. There's diehards for the Bruins, and there are diehards out there. You guys do exist. You guys are the real deal. The real hockey people that just love and breathe hockey and want to sit there and eat ice shavings. Yeah, you guys are the real deal. Okay, I understand, but you're few and far between. Because most of you'll still be talking hockey, but most people aren't talking hockey right now. I mean, I can name some Bruins fans out there that are real Bruins fans, but not a lot of you.
Yeah, I haven't. I just they shouldn't be playing, even with the transition, they shouldn't be playing as bad as they are.
Well, they shouldn't be playing as bad.
I know a lot of it is, Chara's what, 38 years old
it's
now?
It's injuries, it's old people.
Seidenberg is old. He's fallen
it's
off big
overplayed
time.
Players.
They inexplicably, there is an explanation. They traded Boychuk because they didn't want to pay him.
I get that. You can't pay everything and everybody, and this is the thing with hockey.
It didn't help that Chiarelli was handing out fucking no trade clauses.
I'm not going to sit there and say that it's not Chiarelli's fault, because it is to some extent, but everyone wants to blame Chiarelli when for a 4-year period, your team was on top of the league, guys. For a 4-year period, you won a cup, you went to another finals, you won a President's Trophy, which all of you guys celebrated that, by the way. Another year, you guys the Bruins looked incredible. So what do people want? You have a 4-year window. I mean, in every sport, you get a limited window. Unless you have Tom Brady or you have Tim Duncan, those are the two anomalies probably right now, where you can say, oh, look at the window of those teams. They have 15 years. That's incredible. That doesn't happen. I mean, 3 years ago, everyone sat here and told me the San Francisco 49ers were going to be a dominant force for the next 5 to 10 years. Guess what, people? I said it too. That didn't happen. Ron Jaworski said that Kaepernick was going to end up being the greatest San Francisco 49er quarterback of all time and the greatest quarterback ever. That's what he said, that was a possibility. Guess what, folks? That didn't happen. And it doesn't happen that your team sits on top of the league for more than 4 years. So you want to sit here and blame Chiarelli? Chiarelli built a team that won a cup and went to another finals. He could have won a second cup.
He's had some really shaky drafts, though.
Oh, draft, listen. This is the thing with every GM. Every GM has hits and misses. Every GM has positives and negatives. No one hits on everything. Bill Belichick, who was, in my opinion, the greatest GM ever. I'm going to go out there and say that. We'll have this conversation another day, another time.
Right.
I'm going to sit here and tell you he has a lot of misses. Albert Hainsworth, drafts Chad Jackson, bibbity-boppity-boo, okay? You have all the dwarfs you want. They're not all friggin' great dwarfs. Some of them are sleepy. Some of them are grumpy, okay? It's just the way it is.
Did they give up on Sagan too early, in your opinion?
Yes, they gave up on Sagan too early. And I always hate the old, you never want to trade the best player in a deal. You never do. Especially when they're young. I mean, if he was 37, you would trade the quote-unquote best player in a deal.
See, these same fans you're talking about, they're all over Louis Eriksson. Louis Eriksson is not a first-line player. He's a really solid third-line player, but how is that his fault? That's your GM's fault.
And at the time, a lot of these Bruin fans liked the Sagan deal. Excuse me. People were saying it was a good trade.
I was of the opinion that both financially and personnel-wise, when they were going to go, I think they had just signed Jerome McGinley. I said, short-term, this isn't too bad. But 5 years from now, we're going to be saying, what the F did we do? I said that
and I'm sure you did. And I know I said that I had never heard somebody say that. And my cousin Tom told me his friend Tom, it was verified by a different source from the man that said that this was going to happen. The team was going to implode because they're paying too many people too much money with the no trade candy and all this other stuff.
Tom said that?
My cousin Tom's friend Tom. He's a great guy. So Tom's friend Tom. Okay?
My Uncle Tom.
Tom said that. And, I mean, not a lot of Bruins fans did. They weren't worried about, no one was talking cap when you win the Presidents, right? No one was talking cap when you almost beat the Blackhawks. You lost at Game 6, which that was a devastating loss, by the way. They should have never lost that game.
And then you never know what happens in the 7th game.
Right.
Even though Bergeron probably would have missed that game.
But no one was talking cap. I mean, the same people that bash the Patriots every year about the cap, like Michael Felger, not to pull out everybody, but these people that bash the Patriots of the cap, I hear it every day when I turn on sports radio.
Why
they don't even understand the cap. Why aren't they spending to the cap? This is why they're always in first place. Okay? More years in first place. That's because Belichick doesn't spend to the cap every year.
You just went Dan Duquette.
I went Dan Duquette Belichick on you, yeah. More years in first place. That's what we're looking for here. The Bruins had 4 years of really good run. Okay? It doesn't happen all the time. Now, so you want to blame the old GM, you can do that. You want to blame the coach, you can do that too.
I don't. Claude's one of the last people I blame.
I think Claude might be the greatest Bruins coach you've ever had. But people want to blame him.
You got Art Ross in there. You got who else really? Terry O'Reilly.
So is Claude's career not at least?
He's got to be.
Can you not argue it at least?
I mean, he's right in the conversation. Can I say this about?
Well, that's my point. I mean, we always want to jettison people in Boston.
I don't.
When they start to suck a little bit, okay, just a little bit. We never think of, you got to bring in a guy that's better. You can't just get rid of guy X, who's an 8 out of 10, and you randomly fall into a 10 out of 10. I mean, you don't Bledsoe to Brady very often, folks. That's not very often that you do that. Okay? Drew Bledsoe, very good quarterback. Tom Brady greatest ever. But you don't get that very often. You're not just going to get rid of Claude Julien and suddenly find the best coach in the history of hockey. So it's not how it works.
I'm in the minority here. I'm a Claude guy. Because answer me one question, yes or no. When Claude has the right personnel, does his system work?
Claude's system works infinitely.
It's boring, but it works.
I know. Won a company could have won a second.
And believe me, I understand that the whole chip and chase thing, dirty goals, juicy rebounds, etc. Chip and chase, horrible power play. They get a 1-goal lead.
Great penalty kill, though.
They get a 1-goal lead. They pack everyone in front of the net. Similar to what the Devils used to do with the trap, but not really. But when he has the right personnel and he has the defenseman to put in front of the net, his system works. Why do you think Tuukka Rask looks so great in that playoff run 2 years ago? He had a healthy Chara and a healthy Seidenberg. This is top-tier defenseman.
But I mean, really, you get rid of Boychuk.
I hated that trade at the time, and I still hated it.
Sean Thornton was a glue guy.
Yeah, he was a definite glue guy.
Okay, he's a bum. He's an enforcer, whatever you want to call him.
You know what
he's a goon.
But do you know what my biggest gripe with that is? If you're gonna let Thornton go and sign Zach Ronaldo, why not just keep Sean Thornton?
You're preaching to the choir, but my point is...
I haven't found a satisfactory
these moves.
answer.
Dougie Hamilton, you should have paid the man. This is the thing is, people get mad when they pay people, but then they get mad when they don't. And you can only have it one way, people. You don't get to not pay anybody or pay everybody.
Dude, Chris Kelly has a no-trade clause. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm not saying people are not overpaid on the team. If you go through the whole roster from 2-3 years ago, 70% of the players were overpaid, and they all had no-trade clauses. So I get it. I understand that they put themselves in this situation. I mean, the Iginla deal where then they can't get him back, basically. I understand.
I even
what
understand.
I'm saying is, other than the Chicago Blackhawks in that period of time, who else would you have rather been in the league? No one wanted to trade places with Buffalo. No one wanted to trade places with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Okay? They didn't.
I don't agree. I don't disagree with everything. I love Milan Lucic. I mean, I think he had plateaued. I think it was time for him to move on. I wish him nothing but the best. I thought he played his ass off here, but he had plateaued as a player. He wasn't going to get any better. He wasn't. This is a guy who he underachieved to some extent.
He did underachieve because he had glimpses of Cam Neely.
A mini Cam Neely.
Yeah, glimpses. That's glimpses. I mean, the shades of Cam. The 50 Shades of Cam, okay? But he underachieved. He was a good player. At times a very good player. I mean, Krejci was injured last year. That matters.
Definitely.
I mean, okay, Claude would have got chased out if they had ever lost that series to Toronto.
Yeah.
But
the seventh game would go down like 3 goals.
I was in the middle of writing a piece. I think half the world was about how Claude's getting fired. And then suddenly I go upstairs.
That was the one period. That was the one time.
Goal.
That was the one time being a Claude guy. I'm like, yeah. I mean, they probably got to fire him after this. They had a 3-1 lead. But here's the other thing I got to say. You got to give Don Sweeney a couple of years. You got to see what he wants to do. And Claude may not. I don't think Claude's his guy. I think he's going to want his own guy eventually. I think Claude's not long for Boston.
I mean, how much is Cam doing there? This is a problem I have with the Red Sox too. I mean,
kick his ass, Bass.
I get that, but you have a GM, and then you have a guy above the GM that's telling the GM what to do, and then Jacobson seems to be a little bit of a meddling owner. Maybe in the Henry group type thing, where I don't like meddling owners. I mean, Jerry Jones just doesn't do it for me.
I don't even think.
Neither does Mark Cuban.
I don't even think that Jacobs is a meddling owner. I don't think he even gives a crap.
Well, he makes comments.
Didn't care
comments last year.
Yeah, he finally comes up.
I'm talking about the old man. I'm talking about the kid.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought you were talking about the old man. The old man just went away for 30 years, and he just finally showed up when they won the cup. He's like, hey.
He just realized he has a team. I mean,
you got to give Don Sweeney some time. You got to let him see, and he might fail. It's very plausible he might fail, but I'm just saying, give him a little bit of time.
Oh no!
Let him construct his own team.
I'm going to ask Scotty Cash this question.
Go ahead.
Is Tuukka a bum? In the good old Scotty Cash word, is he a bum?
He does not look good right now at all.
No, and we've had conversations about.
I think he's last in the NHL in save percentage right now. Granted, it's early.
We've had conversations about Tuukka being very Peyton Manning-esque. Maybe David Price-esque, we'll say.
Peyton Kershaw.
Yeah. Peyton Kershaw.
He won a big game. He forced Game 5.
But we always sit there and criticize other teams and other players, and for failing in the big spotlight, and it seems that Chuka has at times failed, but
he actually had a really, really good run.
He had a very good cup run
in the 13 playoffs, and then I kind of stalled. I still think they go up 3-1. That fourth game, they gave it away. They go up 3-1. I know it's Chicago. I don't think they're going to win 3 in a row. I think the Bruins would have closed them out maybe in 6. So that's definitely a cup that got away.
Chicago was a more talented team. They were the better team. I really feel like the Bruins should have won that series.
The first
I felt like they had the chances. Game 6 was horrendous.
The first 2 games were a wash because if you remember, the Bruins outplayed them the first game and they lost.
And vice versa.
Corey Krug threw that cross-ice pass that got picked off, and
Corey Krug, yeah. I like Krug, by the way.
The second game, the Bruins looked horrendous. The first 20 minutes, they ended up winning it in overtime. So,
okay, we're gonna move on to the next topic, I think.
What are we moving on to?
Actually, we'll switch straight into baseball.
You want to go into baseball?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about the World Series a little bit. I'm just gonna go out there right away.
I hate the Mets. I'm rooting for Kansas City.
I'm not rooting because I have an aunt that's a Mets fan. Actually, I just found that out.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah, isn't that great?
Sucks for her.
I'm not rooting for either team. I mean, I guess you could say I'm rooting for Kansas City. I probably want to see them more.
I hate the Mets. I'm rooting for the Royals.
Really not one way or the other. But I think Kansas City's going to win 6. I think they're a better team. I think the Cubs are a better team than the Mets. In fact, I think the Mets are the worst out of the last 4 teams that were left. That's just my opinion. But they're really hot right now.
That's what it's all about. They got 3 kids throwing 100 miles per hour. So
they have better pitching.
They got better pitching. So
the city's more balanced.
What Harvey, DeGrom, and Syndergaard are doing right now, like 23, 24-year-old kids, that's phenomenal. The funny thing is, and you can find this on YouTube, go back to 2012, there's a funny rant where Francesca's just going ape about the Mets. Like, they suck. They're trying to tell you that Seaver and Koosman are right around the corner. They're not. I wonder what he's thinking today. Because they didn't trail in that Chicago series.
At all.
They led from the first pitch.
Now, the thing is...
And I know it's the Cubs.
So they're coming in here ridiculously hot. The rust versus rust. They've had days off now. Does that hurt them at all, being this hot? As hot as they were.
When you're playing as well as a Mets,
you don't want to sit.
You don't want any time off.
No, you want to go out there play 3 more games in a row.
Look at the 07 Rockies. They won 21 out of 22. They had a week off. The Red Sox just steamrolled.
The Red Sox were a better team. I think this might be something similar. The hotter team is not the better team right now, in my opinion.
No, I remember my brother was actually... I don't know if it was my brother or it was my uncle. It was one of them. He was actually worried about Colorado in like 4 games. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, the Red Sox are going to win sweep.
Red Sox, which is a much better team.
He's like, but they've won 21 out of 22. I'm like, they just battered the Indians 3 games in a row.
Now, is the stage...
Like 45-3.
Is the stage going to be too big for the Mets? Kansas City's been here before. They've been in the playoffs.
See...
They've been part of bigger games more recently.
It's that old saying, momentum's only as good as your next day's starting pitcher. I think the Mets have the better starting pitching.
I agree. What about their fielding? What about their hitting? What about their
Kansas City
bullpen?
Bullpen Kansas City.
Fielding Kansas City.
Fielding Kansas City. Lineups are a push. I mean, the Mets are really hot right now. I'm incredulous to the point that I'm like almost like disgusted by it. He's homered 6 straight games. Put one right up by Murphy's chin and knock him on his ass. He is way too comfortable at the plate right now. It's the first thing. I don't know
if his chin though. You just want to drill him in the hip. I mean, you really
no. Just brush him. No, just brush him off the plate. Knock him on his ass.
Now, you sound like Pedro.
Pedro's probably thinking it right now.
Why Pedro would have just beamed him first pitch. Boom.
If you remember in 04, Matsui was hitting everything in sight. I think it was the 5th game. Yeah, it was the 5th game. It was at Fenway. He put Matsui on his ass in that game, and he was never the same the rest of the 2.5 games.
That's why Pedro, mentally, that's where he destroyed people. Like Larry Bird, really. Jordan, same kind of thing. Russell, one of those great athletes, he destroyed people between the mind.
I actually enjoyed Pedro watching him pitch more in like 02, 03, 04, because he didn't have the same fastball he did. And he actually had to pitch rather than just blow guys away. It was just fascinating to watch.
That's fascinating.
I mean, he's the best pitcher I've ever seen.
Oh, agreed.
But, yeah, and we're going to sound... Just so... those out there who are like, oh, he's a homer, he's a Red Sox fan. I'm not even a Red Sox fan. He's the best pitcher I've ever seen. So.
Scotty's an Orioles fan. I know we get criticized for talking Boston sports. We are primarily Boston sports guys. We will talk all types of sports.
Yeah, but you know what?
In a minute, anyways.
Yeah, we might be, concentrating on Boston sports, but I'm always objective.
Our test run, we said Curtis Martin was a top 10 running back.
And he is.
He's still a top 10 running back. I don't know how that's a homerish thing to say. Curtis Martin isn't a Patriot. He's a Jet. I hate the Jets. That's probably the team I hate the most in all of football. Even more so than the Giants. It's Jets and Steelers for me, baby.
My most hated teams.
Hate the Broncos too, but Jets and Steelers.
My most hated teams. It's like a 4-way tie with the Jets, Colts, Cowboys, and Giants.
I don't even hate the Colts. Scotty hates the Colts because the Colts were stolen from another city. He acts like they were stolen from Boston. I mean, they're not our team. Who cares? You don't hate the Braves. Do you hate the Braves?
I do hate the Braves.
Oh, well, Scotty hates the Braves.
No,
let the record show.
My 3 most hated baseball teams are the Braves, the Dodgers, and the teams that played in the World Series.
I hate the Dodgers. I hate the Yankees.
See, I don't even hate the Yankees. I mean,
you live with the Yankees.
I guess I do. I guess I do, but But we're getting off track. I actually
make your prediction. Who's going to win? How many games?
You gotta wait for the article on the site. You gotta wait for gamesofinches.com. I'm not gonna reveal it on the podcast.
Yes, our article gamesofinches.com is our website. You can go there, read all Scotty's baseball predictions. He's about 50-50.
Quick recap. I did pick the Cubs to win in Pittsburgh. They did. I picked the Yankees over Houston. I was wrong about that. I picked Kansas City in 5 over Houston. I was correct. I picked Toronto I think I picked them in 5 over Texas, and that was right. I picked the Cubs over St. Louis. I was right. And I did pick the Mets in 5 over the Dodgers. And I said at the time, if you read it, I should go with the safe pick and pick the Dodgers with Greinke likely going in a 5th game. But I just like the way the Mets are pitching right now. And I was right. I picked Kansas City in 6 over Toronto. I picked the Cubs in 7. I went with the Back to the Future 2 friggin' nerd thing. And that's, by the way, that's my fault for actually believing that the Cubs could...
Scotty stole that almanac and tried to make all those bets. They didn't come out right, though.
Yeah, Biff got it before I did. But I was wrong. I looked at it on paper, and I said, can the Mets keep pitching like this? That's what I said to myself.
The Mets stay this hot.
And they did. Now. And they did.
But right now, for another series, after having this time off, they have to stay this hot, hitting and pitching. I think they're the inferior team.
When did they clinch? When did they clinch? Wednesday? Game 1's Tuesday.
Yeah, I think they've had 4 days off.
All right, so that's 6
3 days off.
That's 6 days.
3?
I know I wasn't in the major leagues. I'm not trying to draw a comparison. I know when I played baseball and I had a couple of days off, it screwed my timing up. I hated it. I wanted to play every day. And you talk to these guys to a man, it's all adrenaline right now. If you can't get up for the World Series, you can't get up for anything. They want to play every day.
And I'm not criticizing that or saying they can. I'm just saying, how hot are they going to stay? Even if you are completely pumped up and into it, it doesn't mean you're going to stay that hot. You can't keep yourself in the zone. That's why I always hate half times. I hate bye weeks, like the week when the Patriots had them, where you're playing so hot. And
the Pats they went from 28 points to 40 points to 51, and then they get a week off.
Yeah, you never want that. You never want at halftime of any type of game. You're watching a basketball game, and your guy's just on fire. He's hitting everything. Then you go into halftime. Comes out and misses his first 4 shots. You know what I mean?
That's why baseball's the best sport. The only way, there's no clock. You can only...
Well, the thing that ruins it in baseball, though, is a pitch is cruising, and then suddenly, not that he's ever probably going to complain, but there's a long inning on the other side, and his team gets 4 runs, but takes an hour. And the pitcher comes back out, and he doesn't got it. It happens all the time.
Yeah, it does. But, the good ones...
You're not going to complain about 4 runs, but...
You know what, though? Any pitcher can pitch when they got their best stuff. The really great pitchers, the Hall of Fame pitchers, they can get through games when they don't have their best stuff. That's what
my dad... Because for my grandfather, I always say my grandfather played a bunch of baseball, not major leagues, obviously, but actually his brother was offered a contract from the New York Yankees. But he always used to say... You find out who the pitcher, the truth of a pitcher is when there's man on third and less than 2 outs. That's when you find out. Mm-hmm. That's all about pitching.
Mm-hmm. Getting to David Price. Yeah.
Who, by the way, I wanted the Red Sox to try to go after.
Do you still want him?
I'm not so sure. I mean,
the Orioles pitching is abysmal.
And it depends on what they're going to pay him, but.
If he came to the Orioles and said, I'll pitch for like $500,000, not sure I'd take him.
But if we get David Price, we're not going to be in last. That's the thing.
That's it. I'll tell you what. I'd take him if he goes, I'm just going to pitch in the regular season for the Orioles. I'll get you like 95 wins in the division.
Take the postseason off.
Yeah, I'm just going to go to Waikiki or something. All right, so Price is 0-7 in his career as a starter in the postseason with an ERA over 5, which is just... For a guy who's won a Cy Young, I mean, those are numbers you expect from, like, I can't even think of.
And there were a lot of questions with him not starting certain games. I know he came in relief.
The only reason he's not 0-8 is because Batista hit a home run last night and got him off the hook. He was down 3-1.
I understand that, but did they not use him oddly this postseason?
They had him coming out of the pen because they wanted to avoid using him in a 5th game against Texas.
It's weird.
I understood it.
You understood it? He's your guy.
Gibbons, bringing him in relief in the 4th game in Texas to avoid starting Game 5, I looked at it and said, Gibbons, it scares.
So you just don't trust him?
It scares the hell out of him to go with his track record into a do-or-die game.
Well, then I guess you know that David Price is just never going to be a big game pitcher.
He's not.
He's just never going to be.
He wasn't in Tampa. He never really had... He actually... pitched well against the Orioles last year when he was in Detroit. He still lost the game. It was like one of those tough luck losses. I think they lost like 3-1 or something like that. He actually didn't pitch that bad. I think Nelly Cruz hit a home run off him.
It's just nuts to me, though. It's absolutely nuts.
He didn't even pitch bad last night. He wasn't terrible.
But if you're willing to put your man in the pen, a stud pitcher, to avoid him starting oh my God! I mean, think of that. When's the last time you've seen that?
And I hate to bring up...
last time you've seen that where a great pitcher has been using the pen specifically so you can't use him as your starter, so you can't lose the series for you.
I didn't know you were going to put that little extra on it. I was going to say Pedro did that in 99.
Pedro didn't do it so that they would not win the series, though. They did that to win the series.
Yeah.
But imagine if they pitched Pedro. That would be like... I mean, Pedro's a completely different animal, completely different level of pitcher.
He no-hit the best lineup in the major leagues.
It's never like you started John Lester, and then you go, we don't want to start him again. Let's put him out of the pen this game. When the Red Sox had him, you don't do that.
That spoke volumes to me. That just spoke to me that Gibbons didn't trust him, and that's when I said the team.
Would Greinke have had to done that this year?
No.
Would Kershaw?
His postseason numbers are spotty, but no.
Cueto?
No.
Anybody?
No.
I mean, if you take any of the good pitches in the league,
I can't think of one.
I mean, I'm not even sure you do that with Clay Buchholz. If he's going to be a starter number 5.
He'd be hurt.
Yeah, it's true. He wouldn't be able to pitch because he'd be hurt. You'd be like, oh, my neck. I slept funny. In that weird sleep room. Jordan's furniture.
I was clipping my fingernails, and I clipped one of them wrong. I can't go today.
My kid gave me a hug, and he cracked my back. Can't play for the year. That's Clay Buchholz. But if Clay Buchholz was going to be a Game 5 starter, would you purposely put him in the bullpen for Game 4?
That guy's a Sally. He wouldn't come out. He wouldn't come out of the pen or start.
He is, but he might be better than David Price in big game situations. I mean,
so I'm not going to reveal my prediction. You're going to have to actually physically go to our website and read, which I know.
So you go to Scotty Cash's GameOfInches.com predictions. It's going to be, I'm assuming, World Series predictions. Probably what he'll title it.
No, I'm just gonna predict like who's gonna win Game 1, and then you can
just Game 1.
Do the rest on your own.
Let's get into the NBA a little bit.
Yeah. We got to go over the list. We got
our fourth sport.
Yep.
That we're gonna talk about tonight. So we're going all around. We're not gonna go to women's tennis. I know Serena didn't make the finals. It's devastating. I'm sure you're all crying. Djokovic again wins in China.
You know what I'm looking forward to though? And the spring rolls around, golf. I like watching.
We talk about golf. I mean, we can talk about Tiger and Rory and Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some Masters coverage. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we could talk about a bunch of different things. I mean, I actually watch a lot of ridiculous sports. I watch rugby once in a while.
1981 NBA?
Yeah, no.
What do you want to...
Let's go into the Celtics predictions real quick. The Celtics actually have a really good roster. They have a lot of talent.
Emphasis on good.
Yeah, emphasis on good roster. And by roster, I mean total roster. They're only missing a number 1, a number 2, and a number 3. If they can just find those 3 guys, they'd be great. And we bring in LeBron, Durant, and one of the really good All-Star, and then the rest of the roster's made. I mean, but
Boston's too racist.
Racist.
Can't bring them in.
Can't have any black players, even though like all the team's black almost.
No, they got a lot of white guys.
they do.
Racist.
Yeah, but
somebody called Jameel Hill.
Oh, I can't stand Jameel Hill. What would it be like if Michael Vick was white?
He'd be Steve Young.
If he was white and more talented, yeah, he'd be Steve Young. But
you go first, and then I'll go.
I think they're going to win 43 games.
Okay.
Maybe the 7 or 8 seed.
They're gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think 7 or 8 seed. I mean, the East is going to be extremely weak again. I mean, you have Cleveland, and then who's next? Maybe Miami.
Atlanta. There's really not.
Miami's probably going to look decent if they're healthy.
I mean, Toronto will be decent. Milwaukee will be decent. They're going to get Jabari Parker back. I think they'll be okay.
But is this the perfect type of team for Brad Stevens? I had this argument the other day at our discussion where maybe Brad Stevens can't even coach stars. Maybe his system is specifically to coach a bunch of lesser players up.
Yeah, I don't think he would object to having like Kevin Durant.
Oh, he wouldn't, but how would he deal with it? Kevin Durant's going to be a free agent next year, by the way. I'm looking forward to that. I think maybe Danny Ainge can woo him, talk to Durant's mom, and
he'll go to the Lakers.
He may. Scotty thinks at the NBA, everyone goes to the Lakers. But I think the Celtics are going to win 43 games. They're going to be competitive. They're going to get demolished by most of the teams in the West again, night in, night out.
I think, I'm thinking 40. I told you this the other night. 44 or 45 wins. I think they're going to be good, not great. So the problem with the Celtics, if you want to call this a problem, like they have like a solid like 4 through 10 or 11 on their roster.
Yeah.
Like Chris said, they don't have a top 3 guy. They're really, if you look at it, they don't have a pure scorer. They don't have a guy who can create his own shot. They don't have a pure center. I mean, Tyler Zeller, who I love, I think he's a perfect backup center on the championship team. They don't have a pure
point guard either.
Smart looks a lot better.
He looks better, but I still don't think he's ready to run an offense the way that, say, a Rajon Rondo. You can hate Rondo all you want. You can not like CP3. Those guys know how to run an offense.
No, I like CP3 as a player. I just think he's a douchebag.
You think he's a douchebag and underachiever. And I understand that. I just think that certain types of players run offenses. I don't think Smart really runs an offense. I mean, he's better.
He's still young, though.
But one other thing, this team has a lot of guards and a lot of forwards.
No bigs.
They don't have any centers, really. I mean, not that they don't have centers.
Amir Johnson's look good, but I mean, if you're going to rely on him to get you 15 rebounds, I mean, you're not.
Also, what's the point of drafting Marcus Smart light?
Rozier?
Yeah. What's the point of that?
I mean,
at what point when you're getting a duplicate, you're getting a duplicate player at different positions, so you have like 3 guys that do the same things at 2 different places.
I know he's a rookie, but it looks like he can play off the ball a little bit. He's super quick. I think he'll adjust defensively. Maybe not right away, but
does Perry Ellis make this team? I haven't seen if they made any cuts yet, but
I don't. First guy I cut is Olynyk. He looks awful.
Kelly Olynyk is just not.
Dude, he stinks. I'm sorry.
I never wanted them to draft him. Once I was like, terrible pick, cut him. Guarantee contract, get rid of him.
Oh, I love how like in summer league like 2 years ago, my dad was like, "Oh, this guy looks good." I'm like, "Daddy sucks."
It's summer league. I also want to be on the record that I am not and have not been a fan of the guy that you really like. I don't know if you really like him anymore.
Who?
Big guy, kind of an a-hole.
Who, DeMarcus?
No.
I have no idea.
On the Celtics.
Oh, on the Celtics? Go ahead.
You don't know who I'm talking about?
I don't. I'm drawing a blank.
He's like Big Baby Light.
Oh, Jared Sullinger?
We drafted him. Bunch of fans that I know, Celtic fans, but Jared Sullinger's going to be a player. Like a rebound. Can play. Should have went top 10, top 5 in the draft. Maybe top 3 if he was healthy. Bad back, he'll be good. I'm like, no. He's an overweight curmudgeon, okay? He doesn't try. He doesn't. He's not. He should maybe be the guy that's cut. Even over Kelly Olynyk.
They're not going to cut him.
They're not going to. Does he look like?
By the way, no one gets.
Does he look like the player you thought he would turn into?
Yeah, basically.
So a worse version of Big Baby Davis and Blount.
I never said like, oh, this guy's going to be Charles Barkley. I never said that.
I didn't say it would be Charles Barkley, but you presumed he would be like a borderline all-star type player.
I thought he was going to be decent. I thought he was going to be like a 14.6 rebounds type of guy. And he, that's still in the realm of possibility. I'm not writing him off yet. He's probably still the best rebounder on the team.
I am. I take Brandon Bass over him. Any day of the week.
Brandon Bass sucked.
Any day of the week. So yeah, Celtics, they're not going anywhere the next 5 years. They're really not.
Yeah, we don't know that
actually,
yet. We don't know that
unless Brooklyn gives them a great pick. I mean, because they're in the position right now where it's going to be hard for them to get much better. Unless one of their players suddenly turns into a stud.
See, what they have to hope for is if Brooklyn's like the worst team in the league, they land the first pick in the draft. And
Durant comes here, they get the first pick in the draft.
It's like an Anthony Davis.
And then Marcus Smart becomes incredible. Yeah, if all that happens, sure.
Banner 18.
We're
coming.
But the real title contenders, okay, to me, it's Cleveland in the East. That's it.
Yeah.
No one else. I mean, someone else might come out of the East. I'd be shocked if that happened.
Do you expect anyone really to represent the East?
Just Cleveland.
It's just so damn bad.
It's Cleveland, and they're the only ones that I think could win a title out of the East. And I got Golden State, in no specific order. Golden State, Houston, the Clippers, and San Antonio. San Antonio scares the shit out of me from the rest of the league.
LaMarcus. Yeah.
LaMarcus Aldridge in that lineup. That lineup was already very, very talented, very deep, amorphous in a lot of ways. Popovich likes to play similar to Belichick, where it's all about variety and versatility. I love some of the younger guys. I really do. Tim Duncan's ageless. He's still playing. And I don't mean playing just like showing up. I mean, he's still good. Mm-hmm. He's not Peyton Manning.
He's not what he was, but he's still good enough.
Yeah, he's
still good enough with the players around him.
He's still good. It's I know they got a lot of old players too, but...
Well, I mean, you got him, you got Parker, Ginobili will still give you something, even though he's not the player he was. But like you said, the young guys, they got Kawhi Leonard.
Leonard, to me, should be... I mean, I thought he was going to last year, but he should be a guy that's just dominating games with his talent in certain respects. I mean, he's not...
Look what he did to LeBron in the finals.
Yeah, he's got great defense, really good all around. I mean, he's not going to score 40 points a game for you, but Green, they got a lot of young talent. Mm-hmm. They still do. I mean, with LaMarcus Aldridge.
As long as he's not like a locker room cancer... I mean,
next to Duncan, I mean,
we could be. I don't expect it to happen. I don't think they would have signed him. That's okay.
But with Duncan and Popovich, do you think he could really ruin the locker room?
No, not really. I expect San Antonio to, at the very worst, be in the West Finals, whether it's against Golden State or Houston.
I mean, Clippers. I think the Clippers are going to be good. They got DeAndre Jordan back. That's big. If they're healthy, Paul Pierce on that team. He provides a lot. He's not great.
I'm not a Rivers guy.
I know you're not.
Never been a Rivers guy.
Scotty had a website, firedocrivers.com.
No, firedocnow.com.
Firedocnow.com.
I still have the t-shirt.
Sorry, he has a t-shirt with it on and everywhere. The guy wins a ring, he has to shut the hell up. Can't say it anymore, but he still is mad at Scotty. He's mad at Rivers now. Scotty is, just like Bill Simmons was. That Rivers never made a solid 8-man rotation. Scott will sit here and tell you, Rivers never had a rotation. Same as Bill Simmons, by the way. So I'm not going to say Scott's alone in saying that.
Yeah,
and it's kind of true.
Bill Simmons agrees with me that he quit on the team.
Bill Simmons agrees with you in both respects, but you know what? I don't fault him either one. Back to the Claude thing, back to the Bruins 4-year window thing. I mean, what do you want the guy to do? They won a championship. They almost stole a second championship. If Garnett doesn't get hurt, they probably win more championships.
Why did he sign on the dotted line for all those zeros? I think did he think that Pierce and Garnett were going to play until they're 50?
Apparently.
That's BS.
Thought they were Tom Brady. Maybe if they had Alex Guerrero.
We're not going to get into that.
We're not going to Alex Guerrero it up, but because you want to know why? I like Tom Brady, and I want him to interview with us someday, so I don't want to piss Tommy off.
I love you, touchdown Tommy.
But yeah, I mean, Houston, I thought last year.
You got a hard-on for Harden.
I do. James Harden is my man. I love the beard, and I thought he should have been MVP last year. That's a different topic. But I really think Houston, if Dwight's healthy...
I'm on record that either Harden or Curry would have been... Those were the two choices. I'm not saying that Curry didn't deserve it. I thought that was a good choice. Definitely could have justified giving it to Harden. The thing is, like... Dwight Howard is, like... And I love Kevin McHale. Like, you know, like, how much I love Kevin. But
he thinks Kevin's, like, the best power forward in the history of everything.
Best low post player ever.
Even that's debatable. I mean, Hakeem had the similar moves. We're going to get into that in a few minutes.
We're going to get into that,
but Golden State.
I have a hard time rooting for Houston because of Dwight Howard.
Like, I don't. I don't hate Dwight as much as other people hate Dwight. I mean, he held Orlando hostage. I actually like him because he basically said "F U L A." But
I was hoping that he'd stay in LA and eat up their cap and be a
bum.
Yeah, just not.
But
fair.
I think that team could win. I think they could.
Yeah, they could. They could.
Golden State, they're the defending champions. They could win again. I mean, it's hard to do that in any league. A little bit easier in the NBA than the rest.
They were a little exposed in the finals. Like, you have to... all you got to do is bang them and throw your size around.
Well, they're a little soft, if you want to say that.
Yeah, a little bit.
But Draymond Green, they got the Splash Brothers. I mean,
I'm saying they looked great when they were firing threes and they were all going in. When the finals came around,
well, that's
and
the problem with shooting threes
falling,
in general.
But my point is,
reliant.
Here's the thing. They got cold in the finals, and they said to themselves, "Oh crap, how do we win?" They had no other means to win a game. They have no size, no low.
Well, their offense was the three,
right?
I mean, they're that good at the three, though, where that's going to be the ability for them to win most games just because of the three.
David Lee turned that whole series around.
He did. Game. Actually, starting David Lee changed the series.
It gives Steve Kerr credit for that. Steve
Kerr's going to be possibly out at the beginning of the season?
Couple months, yeah, back surgery.
Yeah.
But give Steve Kerr credit. He switched it up a little bit. He was getting no production out of Andrew Bogut. Threw Lee in there the fourth game. They blew him out that game. That game wasn't even close.
All I know is thank God the Celtics didn't ever get the first-round pick and get like Andrew Bogut. So that would have been devastating. I mean, we should have got Duncan that year, but thank God we never got like a Bogut. I would have been really upset with that. But Golden State, they have a good chance to win. I mean, the way Curry plays, he's just incredible.
All right, want to get to the grand finale?
Yeah, let's get to the grand finale, the granddaddy of them all.
This is from June 27, 2012.
We did a snake draft, building the greatest basketball teams we could possibly build. Obviously, once a player is drafted, the other guy cannot draft him. It's only the two of us, so one of us drafts and the other guy drafts two. Goes back and forth.
Do you want to read my team, read each other's team, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah, we'll read how the draft went first, okay?
Okay, yeah, all right, do that.
So Scotty gets the first pick in the draft, and he takes Bill Russell, center, Celtics. If you guys didn't know that. I took Michael Jordan. I then took Kareem for my second player.
Very good selections.
Scotty takes Bird and Magic Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I then took Wilt and Duncan.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty takes McHale and Olajuwon.
Mm-hmm.
I took Kobe and Oscar Robertson.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty took Barkley and Isaiah Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
I then took Moses Malone and LeBron James. By the way, huge steal right there. Scotty then took Elgin Baylor and James Worthy. I then took Kuzi and Havlicek. Scotty took Shaquille O'Neal and Paul Pierce.
A little bit of a homer pick.
Yeah, he took a couple.
Just a little.
The McHale went 2, no offense, I think. And then I took Julius Erving and KG, and Scotty took George Gervin. Great pick right there for scoring. He needed more scoring on his team.
Can I say one thing, though?
Yeah.
I needed to take two shooting guards, so I took them back-to-back. I took Pierce, because Pierce could play the 3 or the 2. He was just,
Yeah, he could swing.
And not that I'm upset about the George Gervin pick, because he could drop 50 on you like that. The only reason that I didn't take Jerry West is because I screwed up. Because we were at work doing this, so I was on the phone with some jerk-off complaining about their oil. And I thought you had taken Jerry West already. Otherwise, I would have taken West in that spot. And I said that later, and you're like, well, too late. You already took the Iceman. So, yeah, it is what it is.
And I'll tell you why I didn't take Jerry West.
I would have taken Jerry West.
I honestly didn't need him. I got Jordan and Kobe as my scoring guards. I have Oscar Robertson and Kuzi as my point guards. I have Havlicek and fill in as guard if I need him. And I got LeBron that could play point guard from the small forward position. So I didn't need him. I mean, I needed the bigs, and I needed the power down low, so I took Julius Erving and KG.
And just for the record, the whole Homer stuff, just for you who don't know me, I know you know this, the Lakers are my most hated team in all sports. Okay? I hate them. I despise them. I would root for ISIS over the Lakers. So, just so we know there's no homerism, Magic Johnson, Laker. Elgin Baylor, Laker. James Worthy, Laker. Shaquille O'Neal, Laker. I got 4 Lakers on my team.
Shaquille O'Neal, Celtic.
Yeah, like half a season.
By the way, if Shaq stays healthy that year, I'm going to go on record as saying they would have won the title. I still believe that.
They could have.
But my feeling with Scotty is his homer picks were Kevin McHale. Took him 4th on his draft board. That's kind of high up there. And I think a lot of other positions and players could have helped him. I understand he needed the size, so he took McHale and Olajuwon.
See, my whole thing was my centers are Russell, Hakeem, and Shaq. I'm trying to kill you with size. That's what I want.
Oh, you have Russell, Hakeem, and Shaq, but I have Kareem and Wilt. And then I'm going to argue this right now. I got Duncan and Moses Malone as power forwards. I can slide those guys in at center at any time.
Yeah, you could.
That's how that works. I mean, Duncan gets the moniker of greatest power forward of all time, except the man's not a power forward. He's a center. Ask Greg Popovich. He plays center. Ask anyone. Ask BasketballReference.com. Has a little C next to his name for the last 8 to 9 years, guys. The only reason he was a power forward because he plays next to David Robinson. That's part of the thing with positions. Positions are nice little cubby holes we like to fit players in. But they don't. People think Larry Bird wasn't a small forward. Larry Bird was a power forward. He moved to small forward because they brought McHale into the starting lineup. That's how these things work. LeBron James could really play the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. The only position he can't really play is the 5. Probably can't play the 1 now just because he's probably not fast and quick enough. But KG started his career at the 2. People don't understand that. People aren't really a position. I mean, they are to some degree because you have to kind of fit somewhere in an offense.
Isaiah Thomas isn't the center. I mean, there
No. There are people that fit into positions better than others.
Right.
And there are people that obviously they can't play certain positions. But based on who you're playing with, I mean, if Isaiah Thomas plays with Steve Nash, where's Isaiah playing? Not the point guard.
Well, he could play the 2.
He's probably playing the 2, right? I mean, if Jordan plays with another 2, Jordan could probably slide to the 3 if he had to. Jordan could slide to the 1.
He was 6'6". I mean, he wasn't like a pygmy, so he probably could.
No, yeah. I mean, Jordan could have slid to... Jordan played point guard for the end of a season and was devastating. Really, look up Jordan's numbers that year. Devastating.
Really quick, I'll just run through my list and why I picked them, and you can do the same. I had the first pick in the draft. I took Bill Russell because anytime you can take the greatest defensive player in the history of basketball, you take him.
Yeah, Scotty has a lot of defense on his team with Russell and Elijah.
My next 2 picks, because we did the snake draft. For those who know the snake draft, you know what that means. I took Bird and Magic because they're both top 5, 6, however order you put them in players of all time. I think Bird's the greatest forward who ever played. Yes, that includes LeBron James. Magic... you could make a case for Oscar, but I think he's the best point guard who ever played. McHale was just absolutely unstoppable down low. And yeah, that's a little bit of a homer pick, but you got Kevin McHale down low with all those moves, you know. And then the guy I took right after him, Hakeem, same deal. Hakeem was a more complete player. Maybe not that McHale wasn't a good defensive player, he was, but Hakeem was probably a better defensive player, probably a top 10 defensive player ever. Easy, a little bit more athletic. Charles Barkley,
Scotty's favorite player.
He was an absolute beast. I loved watching him play. He was.
It was funny that we didn't pick.
He was Malone.
We did not pick Karl Malone. I got Moses. I got the dead one. I mean, I got the right Malone. Yeah, I love Moses Malone, by the way, folks.
But I think Barkley at his peak was better than Karl Malone. No disrespect to Karl Malone. I just think Barkley was better. Isaiah, you know, I know you guys are like looking at that like kind of a head scratcher, but from like the period of like the late 80s to the early 90s, for those who like watching NBA back then, and Magic was still in the league, Jordan was still in the league, you know, was coming into his own.
Bird.
There was like a 3-year stretch where Isaiah just took over. I mean, the Pistons won back-to-back titles. He doesn't roll his ankle. They win 3 in a row. I think Isaiah is severely underrated.
I think he's severely overrated, so
okay.
Completely
That's
disagree
fine.
there.
That's fine.
Fair enough.
The next guy, I think, just never, similar to your thing with Otto Graham, I just never thought that Elgin Baylor got the credit that he deserved. You're talking about, other than maybe like, I mean, your top 3 forwards at this point ever are probably Larry Bird, Elgin Baylor, and LeBron.
Like small forwards.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I have him as a small forward.
Yeah.
You go back and look at Elgin Baylor's numbers in the early 60s, and I know the whole pace and like all that nonsense. You're averaging like 38 points and 17 rebounds. It's just absurd. James Worthy, I needed some quickness. No one was quicker than that guy. He was devastating in his prime. Same could be said for Shaquille. I know that the foul shooting, but you look at him like early 2000s with the Lakers. He and not Kobe Bryant was the key to those 3 championship teams.
Shaq's power and Shaq's quickness, more acceleration. Some of you will get that, some of you won't.
Donnie Brasco,
not my cousin Vinny. Shaq's power and speed and size were just incredible for the NBA. I mean, if they let Shaq play like they let players play in the 60s, because Scotty and I disagree to this to some extent, but he always says, oh, what would Wilt Chamberlain do in the league nowadays? And I say, well, what would Shaq do when they used to let people play? Because if Shaq touched someone by accident, it was an offensive foul. So I'll give you that Shaq is just, his dominance and his peak is up there with anybody's. From that 3-peat of the Lakers, he's
He's the guy.
Beast.
Kobe was his wingman, and no one to the day I die is going to tell me any differently.
I mean, Kobe Bryant, might be one of the worst, or if not the worst player I have on my team. I actually drafted him a little early, too.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to lie to you. Like, if you're talking about peak.
Yeah, okay.
Peak of the player. Look at the other guys I got. I don't want to go off your list for a second, but the rest of my list, Jordan has a better peak than Kobe. Abdul-Jabbar has a better peak than Kobe. Wilt has a better peak. I think Duncan has a better peak.
Player.
In 02-03.
Oscar
Robertson. I mean, come on. Moses Malone in the early 80s. Way better than Kobe ever was. LeBron James, better peak than Kobe. Kuzi, I mean, a little bit different type of player. Maybe you say his MVP season.
Well, he won an MVP
as a player.
Prior to Jordan, really, and Magic, the only two guards that won an MVP were Kuz and Oscar. That's it.
No, I know. And so
that was the centers award for years.
Oh, in the 1970s, there are 6 different centers that won the MVP. The NBA MVP was always won by a center in the 1970s. 5 of them by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and the 5 other ones are Walton,
Willis Reed,
Moses Malone, and oh my God, how am I forgetting the other guy? It's gonna piss me off, you know that? Because I know this.
Was it Wes Unseld?
I think it was.
That was 69, but it was almost
Well, no, because then there was someone else that won.
Hold on. Unseld was 69. Willis Reed was 70. Kareem was 71, 72. Yeah. Cowens, he was 73.
Cowens. How do we forget that? He's a Celtic.
We're Celtic fans.
My whole point is, and some of those guys are hybrids, kind of like this Tim Duncan mold, power forward / centers.
Cowens was
a power forward playing center. That goes back to the position and what you actually are, and you kind of play to what you have to play in your team.
By the way, Big Red is on my honorable mention. I couldn't take him over like Shaquille and,
But so maybe Kuzi doesn't have the peak that Kobe has, but the rest of my team, Havlicek at his peak is better than
Dr. J.
Than Kobe. Dr. J at his peak is definitely better than Kobe. Dr. J had played in the NBA his entire career, and he had those numbers in the NBA, which may not have held true because the ABA was an inferior league, maybe not by a ton, but it was inferior. I know some people will say when the ABA and the NBA played scrimmages, quote-unquote, against each other, even though they were highly competitive, win-at-all-cost type scrimmages, the ABA actually beat the NBA more often than not. They had a better record against the NBA. The NBA was a better
product.
Yeah, there's no way Julius Erving, if you look at his rebound numbers when he switches over, he does not rebound like that in the NBA.
I still think that Dr. J is like Elgin Baylor light, but I still got him in like my top 15 players ever.
I have him 12 or 13. I can't remember. I
got him like around 15.
Then I got Kevin Garnett, who 03-04 Kevin Garnett is a top 6-7 peak guy of all time.
Better than Tracy McGrady?
Yeah, better than Tracy McGrady. That's another topic for another time, too.
Just really quick so Chris can get into his list because we're working on 2 hours here. Pierce is one of the most versatile scorers that I've ever watched. I think he was an underrated rebounder. He is the best small forward of his time, not named LeBron James, in my opinion. First ballot Hall of Famer.
Unless you're including Durant, but yes.
Durant's more of a power forward.
He's a small forward, really.
Then 12, and lastly, I took the Iceman. I didn't know Jerry West was still on the board. If I had it to do over, I still might take West. I have a ton of admiration and respect for Jerry West. I don't think he was the 69 Finals MVP. We'll get into that another time. But in retrospect, Chris is right. Not that I don't have scoring on my team. I got plenty of scoring.
Durbin adds a lot of scoring to Scotty's team.
He comes off my bench.
Not that West isn't a good scorer, but...
He can come off my bench and pour in 12 points in 3 minutes.
And I want it noted that, people are going to sit here and say that Scotty's a homer for the Pierce thing, because maybe Pierce doesn't match up with a lot of these other players all time. Pierce is vastly underrated. Go look at Pierce compared to Dominique Wilkins and Clyde Drexler. Just do yourself a favor and look at the numbers. Look at the careers. Look at the things that were done. Look at Pierce compared to other wings. I'm telling you right now, Pierce gets vastly underrated.
You do the top 50 over, he has to be.
Pierce is definitely top. I would. Pierce is top 50. We'll get into some other
he's in the 40s. I'm not
40s.
saying
Mid 40s probably.
No, he's not as good as Kobe. He's not as good as but I get to your list.
Michael Jordan, number 1.
No brainer.
Got him. Reason I picked Michael Jordan.
You don't have to explain that.
No, but I'm going to explain why I picked him first on my team.
Okay.
The difference he makes compared to the next shooting guard. Granted, I know you can slide players into shooting guard pretty easily. Mm-hmm. It's a vastly massive difference between Jordan and the next best shooting. Who's the next best shooting guard ever?
After Michael?
Yeah.
Good question.
I mean, Kobe?
Maybe.
Right? How big is the difference there? Especially at their peak. Jordan. Insane.
All day.
I think a Kareem and Wilt. I needed the centers. I wanted powerful centers. I like centers that can play both ways.
Even though I like Chamberlain a lot more than you do. Like, I give Wilt way more credit than you do. Like, let's put it this way.
Well, I'm more of the Kareem camp and less of the Wilt camp, and Scotty's vice versa. I think Kareem is a better player. My all-time list, I go Michael 1, Kareem 2, Russell 3. That's my holy trinity. They're all the best at one thing if you're going to look at certain aspects of the game. Michael being probably overall dominance. No. How do I say this?
Jordan had peak dominance and longevity.
Yeah, I would say more Michael's overall impact is what I should say, because dominance is really Kareem is the GOAT dominance if you look at both sides of the ball and what he was doing in the early 70s. And then Russell's the greatest winner. And then I go Wilt number 4.
So I got Wilt third behind Jordan and Russell. I got Kareem fourth. So you flip-flop them. We basically have
that's our only. It's not like we maximize the minutia that we have as a difference between the two of them.
And I've said this many times. I'll say it here. In a vacuum, Wilt's the greatest player who ever played basketball, and it's not close. If you just go by the numbers.
Well, in a vacuum, but he doesn't play games in a vacuum unless he's. I mean,
all right. Well, let's look at the Kareem, and we never got to see them go head-to-head at their peak. But I will say,
you're gonna tell me when they played Wilt could still block Kareem.
No, but Wilt
was like 85 years old.
Wilt was an old man, and he's still like
block Kareem. Woo.
No, but he was.
But Kareem was a young pup.
No, but I get that. But like, it's not like he got destroyed by a broken down Wilt. Wilt was still he played him tough, even as an old man.
I understand that.
But look at their peaks now. Look at 25 Kareem versus 25 Wilt. Okay. Did he run the court better than Wilt did? Did he rebound better than Wilt did? Did he score better than Wilt did?
Well, I have an issue with a lot of those things because the pace had already slowed. It wasn't as slow as it is now. It wasn't 1990s basketball, but the pace had slowed, and that's huge for rebounds and scoring.
Did Kareem ever play against a center as good as Russell?
Well, no, but Kareem actually played, and this is going to sound crazy.
No, he played against good centers.
Kareem played in the toughest era of centers because of the 70s. We just went through all the people that won MVPs. Look at all those guys. Kareem played against all of them. All of them. He did. All those other guys. Willis Reed.
You don't think Chamberlain could have done the same thing?
I'm not saying he couldn't have. I'm just saying who did Chamberlain play again that were great centers? Russell and who? Probably only one other great center.
Willis Reed played back then.
He was a little later, but yeah.
Well, he was younger, but and one guy who got omitted from both of our lists, he really should be on it. No one talks about him either. Bob Pettit.
Pettit.
He could be.
Pettit's a power forward.
He was like a 4 and a 5 if you think about it.
He's power forward.
See, that's the tough thing about making lists like this. You leave so many great players out. I mean, I would love to have Dirk on my team coming off the bench, and he's not.
That's why Karl Malone got left out. I mean, Karl Malone might be the greatest player to never win a championship.
In the NBA?
Yeah, NBA.
I'd say Baylor. I think Elgin Baylor's the greatest player who number 1.
I think Karl Malone is. Let's agree to disagree there, but
yeah.
Then I got Timmy D. That's a no-brainer. Power forward, even though I can slide him in the center if I have to in a pinch. You got Kobe Bryant, some more scoring.
Can't stand him, but
Oscar Robertson, great point guard. Moses Malone, devastating at his prime.
Really quick about Oscar, and then go through the rest of your list. Kareem played with Oscar and Magic, and he said the best guard he ever played with was Oscar. I'm just going to leave
The thing I want to say is, when Kareem played with Oscar, Kareem was a pup and Oscar was already a dominant force in the league, so it was more like a big brother effect. When Kareem played with Magic, Kareem was the big brother. So I don't completely, it's not that I don't or disbelieve a player, I'll say that guy's lying. What happens is, your status and your perception at a specific time perverts your perception always. As in, if I come into the league and I play with Tom Brady now, okay, and then the next greatest quarterback ever comes up and is still throwing me the ball, maybe because Tom Brady was the guy that I came into the league with and he was already that great, makes me believe that he's greater than the guy that comes up and is actually better.
The fascinating thing, too, about like the 80s Lakers, from when Magic arrived in 79, even though that he won the finals MVP because he played center for like 10 minutes in that 6th game. But
That's kind of absurd, by the way.
Which isn't... I'm not knocking Magic. He had a great game.
But Magic had a great game. Yeah, Magic played center for like half of the tip.
You look at 79... call it 1980 because it's the 79-80 season. From 80 through 85, that was Kareem's team. But from 85 on, Magic took over. Which is like an interesting dynamic you really don't see like in sports very often. Because like, who was the guy in the 80 Celtics? It was Bird.
It's Bird.
Who was the guy in the 90s Bulls? It was Jordan.
Yeah.
Who was the guy in the 60s Celtics?
Well, that's the thing that blew up the Celtics, the Lakers later on with Kobe and Shaq. Because eventually Shaq was slowing down. Kobe was going to have to be the man.
It would have been that dynamic
and
again.
Kobe wanted to be the man ASAP, and Shaq didn't want him to be the man. So, and that was the problem. I mean...
But anyway, yeah, continue with your list.
Then I got LeBron, who, love him or hate him, LeBron's one of the greatest players that ever lived.
I used to love him, and now I can't stand him.
I loved him, then I hated him, then I loved him, then I hated him, then I loved him again, okay? I am all over the place with LeBron. I have a love-hate relationship with him where the guy's a douche. But his talent is immense.
The decision is the most shameless.
Yeah, but you know what? I root for greatness. The guy is incredible. He's a little bit of Magic, a little bit of Jordan, and a little bit of Julius Erving wrapped into one. Now, you can disagree with those, but that's what he is. Okay? He's a massive man. He can pass like Magic.
I'd still take Bird at his peak. We've disagreed.
I would, at their peaks, I would take LeBron. That kills me to say, but it's true. And I'm at the point where if LeBron hasn't just passed Bird Magic, because I haven't redone my list recently, all time, he's about to. Okay? For me, it goes Jordan 1, Kareem 2, Jordan 1, Kareem 2, Russell 3, Wilt 4, Magic and Bird are 5A and 5B, or 5 and 6.
5, 6, whatever.
They're so close you can't even put a piece of paper between them. They're forever intertwined and linked, okay? And then I go LeBron. And after last season, I know that he only lost in the finals, people. But I might move LeBron up. I really might. Then I go Bob Cousy, one of the greatest and innovative point guards ever, okay? And I just need him there for passing. I mean, he's going to facilitate the rest of these guys to score me a million points.
Your next guy I probably should have taken.
I got Havlicek all around. He can score. He can play defense. He can pass. He can rebound. He can do everything.
There's one thing I can...
It's a better version, with all-around player, much so, than Paul Pierce.
One thing I can say about... And I obviously never saw the guy play. I've just heard all the stories ad nauseum from my dad.
Oh, you've watched video.
Well, yeah, you see video all the time. But... Can you think of another player in the history of basketball where you could say that John Havlicek is a top 10 forward of all time, and he's also a top 10 guard of all time? Havlicek might be the only guy you can say that about, and that's just so unique.
See, that's the thing, though, is Havlicek was able to swing between the 2 and 3 position. Most guys don't really swing between the 2 and 3. I mean, you could say Pierce swung between the 2 and 3, but he's just not a top 10 player of all time at any position. Maybe small forward, I guess, if you want to argue that.
Top 10 small forward ever?
Yeah, maybe Pierce.
He's right on the doorstep if he's not.
That's what I mean. Maybe you could argue that, but a lot of these guys, you can't really switch them to power forward to center, or power forward to small forward.
But I'll put it right to you. Is John Havlicek a top 10 forward ever?
Top 10 shooting, like small forward or shooting guard? Or?
Yeah, he wasn't a power forward.
Oh, yeah. Well, small forward, yes.
So you're top 10 two guard of all time.
Yeah, but are you going to let him classify like that?
No, but I'm saying he was so versatile he could be either or.
Okay, so Duncan's a top 10 power forward and top 10 center.
I don't consider him a center, but yeah, I guess you'd have to say that.
But Duncan plays more center at this point in his career than power forward. It's getting to the point now where he's actually played center longer.
I understand that he was classified as a power forward because he played with Robinson, and that's when he came into the league. But I don't know. I always consider him a power forward. But yeah, he can play center.
And then I get Dr. J.
Then you get someone like Garnett who can't play center. Well, it's not that he can't play center, but
Garnett started his career at the 2, though, and then played the 3 a little bit. I mean, he probably could have played the 3 a lot longer. I mean, KG is one of the most versatile defenders ever, okay? Ridiculous. Top
5 defensive player ever?
No, top 10.
You don't put him top 5?
It's very hard for me to make top 5.
You got Russell, I
got Russell, and then I got Hakeem, and those are the only Rodman, 2 that you can probably say.
Dennis Rodman.
And then I got Rodman up there, too. But the only 2 you can say is go in definite positions for defensive players of all time. It's Russell by far number 1, and then Hakeem by almost as big a gap as number 2. And after that, it gets really dicey into the next 3 to 20. You can probably argue.
Well, we're kind of like running low on time.
Yeah, but we're about to cut it off. We got Dr. J next. I got KG. Also, those 2 players, KG extremely versatile. Dr. J, I mean, he's a scoring machine.
Both guys are top 20 easy. It would have been interesting to see if Dr. J had played in the NBA his entire career. Obviously, we're never going to know. I'm not saying that Dr. J would have been a bum had he played early in the NBA. He would have been phenomenal either way. I still call him Elgin Baylor light.
In my opinion, I have 11 top 20 guys of all time.
Yeah, and I probably do too.
Oh, you don't.
I don't.
You don't. But a little bit different teams. But my starting team, I mean, I'm starting.
Oh, we got to do our starting team. Okay.
I'm starting Jordan, okay? Jordan at the two guard.
I bring him off the bench.
I'm not. I'm starting Kareem. I'm starting Kareem with Moses Malone next to him. Okay?
Oh, you got to do a 6-man too.
I'll do a 6-man. I'm starting Kareem at the center, Moses Malone at the 2. LeBron's going to start at my 3. Jordan as my 2. I'm screwing these things up.
That's all right.
With the numbers. But Kareem's going to be the 5. Moses Malone's my 4, my power forward. LeBron's my starting small forward. Jordan's my starting 2 guard. And then Oscar Robinson's my starting point guard. And my 6-man is going to be KG. As shocking as that may sound, because I want to get the big men some rest quickly.
All right.
And then Wilt would probably be the next man off the bench. Or Duncan, actually.
Oh, I got a lot of guys here. And I can play with it. Like, I can move Hakeem to, like, power forward, right?
If you want, yeah.
All right, yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
All right, so I'll go with Russ at center.
Russ is going to be center, okay.
My small forward is Bird.
Small forward?
Yep. I'm going to go with Hakeem as my power forward.
Okay.
Going to slide him over a bit. My point guard's Magic.
Okay.
I'm going to have Isaiah as my shooting guard. I'm going to have him... Actually,
that's your starting 5.
He and Magic can kind of switch between the 1 and the 2 because they were both so versatile and so good. And my 6-man... I'm tempted to go with Elgin Baylor, but I think I'm going to take Shaq as my 6-man, my center off the bench.
Okay. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go through this list, okay? We'll get each year that we want the player. We'll pick, like, I don't know if any of you guys have done any sim leagues. You pick the year of the player.
We need to do that.
Yep. We'll pick the year of the player. We'll put in the starting positions. We'll put in the backups. We'll try to put in amount of minutes, we want each player to play.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll roll our teams from there, and we'll have them have a couple series, and we'll let you guys know the outcomes.
All right. I think we pretty much covered everything, so until next week, I guess.
Until next week. If we didn't talk about it, it doesn't exist.
All right.